And we're back. For any of you who are watching this one, look at the title. Just watch part 1.
Yeah. What are you doing here? Go back to the first one. If you're joining us, why are you here? Go back to the other.
Well, no, if you're joining us after you watch part 1, welcome to part 2 of this 2-part series, which we didn't know was going to be 2 parts. For Star Wars Visions. As per the usual, I am Renegade Sith Ben Sturgeon.
And I am the Grand Inquisitor Matthew Lewis.
And with us today we have someone who is even before Padawan to Star Wars. Someone who knows very little about it.
You mean a youngling?
Well, he's not even young, is the thing.
Well, a youngling.
Yeah, he's not a kid.
If you're newer than a Padawan.
Movie Garbage and Action Toon Bros veteran, Chris Bow.
Hello. I would probably describe myself as greenhorn grasshopper.
There we go. You know what? He's green enough, yes. So in the first the first part, sorry, this is actually a 2-parter of 1 episode, not 2 episodes. In part 1, if you're just joining us and you decided to ignore our jokes at the beginning, we covered the first 5 of 9 episodes of Star Wars Visions. And we've had some really good ones. We had some really bad ones. We had a trigger one.
I put them really bad.
But all in all, we've all had some differing opinions on things.
Spoiler alert, one of the next 4 episodes is by trigger. So there's your trigger warning.
That was horrible, and we capped out the mic.
I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
I never said you had to apologize. I mean, we could have a little bit of a discussion beforehand, but since this is a part 2, we should just dive right straight into it.
Oh, yeah.
Dive into episode 6. No, hold on. We're going to do this one differently. Because there's 2 ways you can say this one.
Yeah.
How do you say it?
I would say T0.
T0, B1?
Yeah.
How would you?
TOB1.
Well, you know what? I'm going to be the weird. See, he did it a little differently.
Yeah, TOB1. Because I'm pretty
yeah.
sure that's how they pronounce it in English.
Yeah, but they also pronounce it a different way, too. Toby.
Right.
Toby, yep,
yeah.
Exactly.
Either way, it's pick one of those 3. You're going to be right anyway. By a group called Science Saru. No idea who that is.
No idea, but their style definitely was very familiar.
Now
quickly, man, we gotta stop Dr. Wiley.
hey, excuse you. We have to.
Quick, we gotta stop him. What, Mega Man?
Excuse me.
Dr. Wiley.
First off, we have to look at another energy source immediately, Mega Man. What? That's a good question. Secondly, we have to stop Dr. Tenma because this is more Astro Boy than Mega Man.
Oh yeah.
And by the way, like I said in episode 1, except for my 2 most worst ones and my 2 best ones. Everything in the middle here I can't really rank because a lot of them are actually really good. This one, however, is one of my top 3, actually.
This is your top 3, really?
Yeah, and I'll explain afterwards. But we wake up with this weird-looking vision of a big-nosed doctor who kind of looks like Dr. Light. I'm not gonna lie. Looks like Dr. Light pulling an Arin from Final Fantasy X because his coat is over his arms and everything.
Are they over his arms?
How rude of you! Yes, he an armless
bold
man.
of you to assume he has arms.
Yeah.
Well, you would assume, but
honestly, and to be fair, Chris had the same reaction as I did when watching this for the first time. Halfway through the episode, we realized, oh shit, he has no arms.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out for the longest time. I was like, his stomach looks like he has arms in his thing.
Exactly.
It looks like that, though he's drawn. It's not clear.
No, but
then later someone says,
yeah, I was gonna say, so yeah, an armless man.
Yeah,
and he's just like, TOB1, you good? We're all fine. You're finished now, and we see just little droid robot boy.
A very Astro Boy looking freaking Mega Man.
Very Astro Boy, very wide-eyed, bushy tail kind of, always the good kid with a wide imagination.
Yep.
And I actually like this episode because I think this would be a good introduction to Star Wars for children.
Yeah,
very good, very easy for kids. The art style very like appealing,
very poppy and smooth.
Poppy.
And, yeah.
All of the little droids that are following TOB1, they're like always happy and cheery and all that stuff. Well, he's supposed to get CO4 or whatever his name is. Whatever the droid is.
The CO3, I think.
Yeah, CO3. And so TOB1 goes to look for him and goes up to his room, I'm going to assume, at the very top, where it's like all these drawings on the wall and stuff like that, and finds him. And then out of nowhere, we get this doctor. What was his name?
Wiley.
No, no, not Dr. Light. By the way, good on point, both of you.
Yeah, I think it was like
Mitaka.
Thank you. Yeah. I can't get over the fact that both of you literally at the same time. Wowie. Dr. Mitaka. Yeah, Mitaka. And we get Dr. Mitaka just out of nowhere, by the way. Just TOB1, I told you not to go in the basement. Kind of thing. I'm like, okay, so there's something to do with the basement. Don't know. So, montage of robots doing robot things, helping,
antics,
helping the doctor with his special project, which we'll find out about that in a second. But as TOB1 is drawing on like the blueprint kind of screen, he's also having a very wide imagination because he wants to go out. He wants to be a Jedi. He wants to search the galaxy.
Yep.
And Mitaka is just like, no, you don't want to go to the galaxy because, and of course, mocking his voice, it's dangerous and blah, blah, blah. You've already told me this many times.
Yeah.
I haven't told you that many times. Yes, you did. Huh. Well then, you do know. Kind of thing, like very silly childlike thing.
I know what you've told me. I don't know that. I don't know what you're saying though.
And of course, CO3 in typical droid fashion, moving the plot along, where Toby's like having his imagination go, and he's like drawing like X-wings and stuff on the blueprints
AT-ATs and stuff.
Yeah, he just having a grand old time. He's like, yeah, I want to help out and like stop the war and all this stuff.
Defeat evil.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
And of course, we also find out through this, he's like, oh, you were thinking of being a Jedi again, weren't you? Our work is important, and we find out that the planet that they're on is literally barren and lifeless. What TOB1 is helping Mitaka do is actually create life on this planet. And that's the whole point of this. And, this is very important. We need to get life on this so that we can help out other planets like this.
Yeah, they want to save them planets that were destroyed in the past.
But, of course, TOB1, his head is kind of in the space clouds, literally. Mm-hmm. So Mitaka's like, you know what? Okay, fine. You want to be a Jedi? You got to find yourself a kyber crystal first.
Yeah.
And, day one, TOB1's like, cool, I get to go on an adventure.
Yeah, we see him kind of traveling the planet, like tossing over rocks, looking under stuff, just kind of searching it best he can to try to find the
and not finding anything.
Nope.
And after day one, he's like, man, I didn't find a crystal. Mitaka's like, you have to use the Force. Clear your mind. That's how you're gonna find your kyber crystal.
Oh man, he keeps saying I have to use the Force, but I don't know what that means.
And of course, TOB1 is just like, wait a minute, so I have to look for the Force? And he takes that too literal, like it's some tangible thing. He's looking not only for his kyber crystal, but he's looking for the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, I've searched everywhere on this planet except for the basement.
Whoa.
So he decides to go down in the basement.
He's apparently off screen. He searched literally the entire planet.
He's a kid, so you know what that could entail.
I guess.
I searched the entire planet, and by that he means like this tiny little corner of the planet. Yeah. So CO3 does a little beep boop, and we get our Star Wars phrase of the day. Yeah. What? You have a bad feeling about this? But yeah, so he goes to the basement, and we actually get to see what's in there, and it's a ship.
Skyhopper.
Is that what it is? A Skyhopper?
Specifically, yeah.
See, I'm glad you actually know this stuff.
Yeah, they climb into the ship and they start pressing buttons and slapping stuff.
I'm a Jedi. Beef calling out Jedi. Wee woo.
Yes, and then we had the subtitles on too. So it's like, calling all Jedi. This is TOB1 calling for all Jedi. Cut to a screen wipe that goes up into space on a Star Destroyer, or was it a Super Star Destroyer?
It's a regular Imperial Star
it's
Destroyer.
just a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we see a Stormtrooper telling an Inquisitor.
Yep.
Because apparently he inadvertently sent out a signal that was read by the Empire.
Well,
Yep.
here's the thing: it might have been an open signal
Yeah.
to everyone.
Well, right,
So they would have been able to.
Point is, like, I think he pushed the button not realizing he was actually broadcasting a message.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course, it's great because it was just like, sir, we found a broadcast talking about someone calling all the Jedi, and just typical, like, this is a really buff-looking guy.
It's a really huge, cool design. Yeah.
I'm like, this guy I'm gonna like. And that's something I didn't teach you about, but we'll get to that later
For
on.
the Inquisitors?
About Inquisitors. I forgot to actually teach Chris about them. But anyway,
That's okay. Like, I'm choosing to believe that it's actually just the Inquisition. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they're not wrong.
You're not far off.
because he did not expect to get the attention of the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, no one expects them.
About the Cordoban Inquisition.
No, yeah.
But anyway, or Morabon, whatever the hell you want to call it. But anyway, as we get that, we go back to the ship where the TOB1's like, "Yay, I'm doing things," and all of a sudden, Mikada's like, "Hey, I told you not to go in the basement."
Did you use the Force to pull him out?
Yes. Actually, at first he's like, "Come out here at this instant," and then you find out he starts moving some of the rocks from a wall, and of course, by the way, another cool thing, he's armless, and yet he can literally just use the Force with his mind.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like Snoke could.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, like he pulled a Snoke.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I liked about Snoke, it was that his power of the Force, was exponential.
You know who Mitaka reminded me of in that one scene? Like, outside of Star Wars, it reminded me of Minwa from Korra.
Oh, yeah.
Like a waterbender,
yeah.
literally armless waterbender.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I see that. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that's another really cool concept for them, for Jedi.
Right, and while that happens, he's moving the rocks with the Force. Uses the Force to,
Hide the kid.
Hide the kid. Hide TOB1.
Hide the kid, hide the
as
wife.
this is happening, damn it. He's talking about hey, I was trying to hide all of this to protect you, kind of thing. And then, in typical Jedi fashion, he senses something. And he's just like, okay, they're coming. Yep. And so hides the body, hides the lie. And then also uses the Force to give TOB1 2 halves of a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And he's just like, okay, he's like, all right, I want you to stay in here and don't come out. CO3, I put you in charge of the boy. All the rocks, all the bricks get pushed back in place, and vision fades for some reason.
Well, before that, he does say to him, "I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me."
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, he does say that. I'm
Rogue
one with
One.
the Force, and the Force is with me.
Yeah, very specific line from Rogue One. Very cool callback.
Yeah, a typical Jedi kind of chant, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, then we cut to CO3 doing some beep boop boops, and TOB1 wakes up, and the room that the little cubby he's in is slightly different because there is an opening that you can see out of, and he walks out and sees everything is destroyed.
Yep, including CO3.
Oh, no, CO3 was the one who woke him up.
Instead of CO3.
Yeah, everything, but everything, all the other droids and everything. However, surprisingly enough, all of the secret experiment, still intact, somewhat. So TOB1 is distraught and is like, you know what? We're just gonna focus on the Doctor's work.
Yep.
And so montage of him and fixing all the other droids, all of them working together to the point where. Oh wait, actually, we forgot something.
What?
He finds out going outside that there's a pile of rocks.
Yeah, he goes outside and sees the.
Mikada's dead.
Mitaka.
I'm gonna always mess up.
Dr. Wiley.
No, Dr. Light. Dr. Light, not Wowie.
Quickly, what, Toby?
Anyway, so meanwhile, at TOB1, that's when he's like, yep, we're gonna do the Doctor's work, and as he's working and everything, clouds appear.
Yeah.
Because earlier, he's like, hey, when are we going to stop doing this project? When there's clouds in the sky and green on the earth. Mm-hmm. And, well, there's clouds in the sky, and there's some green on, like, the rock marker, and then it starts raining. And so, TOB1 and all the droids are happy.
Yeah,
yay, congratulations, we did the thing.
Yep.
And, I think this is, as this happens, Isn't it was like through
this
his
is what
happiness,
his happiness
he realizes
activates
he actually
the kyber crystal inside of him.
Yeah, he actually activates the kyber crystal inside him, and somehow using the Force actually makes the lightsaber.
Yep.
And this one is like where the other one was like an off blue from the Ninth Jedi. Mm-hmm. This one is clearly cyan.
Yeah,
it's just a pure cyan because TOB1 is actually like white with hints of cyan.
Yeah.
So I like how they made it like him. And then, as he's like, whoa, I have a lightsaber, you hear, Jedi! And you see the Inquisitor's back.
Who he did not expect.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, did not expect. And, seeing that, at first TOB1's like, wait a minute, he's a Jedi. No, something's off.
Yeah.
You know what? He's probably the guy who killed the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have a bit of a lightsaber
Very cool
duel.
fight, but he's getting his ass kicked because...
Oh, right, yeah. And then, of course, I think this is also the part where he gets his hand stabbed.
Yeah.
And the Inquisitor, who did not expect this, was like, wait a minute, you're a droid and a Jedi?
Yeah.
And then somehow, like, throughout this whole thing, there's just a thing where TOB1 is just sitting in, like, this cosmic-looking area. And the Doctor, who has arms and is a Force ghost now, forgot to explain that one to you as well, is like, Toby. Yeah, you're my son. He calls him Toby, and he's like, you know what? You have a good heart, and you've helped with the project, and you've worked so hard on this. So he actually dubs him a Jedi, like an actual Jedi Knight. And is like, now go, Toby. And for some reason, in anime form, that gives him the power boost he needs.
Yeah, he
so now he's really good.
Confidence and friendship.
Yeah, exactly. So he's doing all of the Jedi things and all that stuff. And they also, with the help of the little droids, who are like zapping the Inquisitor's feet.
Again, with the power of friendship. And stun guns.
Yeah, and tiny stun guns because of all the droids. But then the Inquisitor pulls out the one Sith technique that takes care of tiny droids. Boot.
It's just killing them.
Yeah, it just like literally is like stomping on them.
Mm-hmm. I cast punt.
So Toby, now I'm gonna call him Toby from now on, is like, hey, CO3, turn this valve over here because he has an idea. So the idea is, as Toby is fighting this Inquisitor, he actually pushes him onto something. I guess it's like hot steam.
Yeah,
whatever.
it's kind of weird.
So like, because he gets pushed back and he's just like actually hurt. And so he starts turning valves, overflows everything, and just like actually destroys this guy.
Yeah.
Not with a lightsaber, but with the power of sheer wits. And you find out also, as this Inquisitor is like yelling and being destroyed, that he was also a droid.
Was he a droid?
He was like a very big robot kind of guy.
I didn't catch that. No.
Yeah, because like you can tell when he's like getting destroyed, like he's got parts. And then he falls over, defeated.
Yeah. And
then of course Toby's like, all right, not only are we going to like do this whole thing with the experiment, but I'm also going to be able to help too because now I'm a Jedi. Episode ends.
Yeah.
See, I grew up not with the black and white version, but with like the more quote unquote recent anime of Astro Boy. Mm-hmm. And I liked Astro Boy, and this was heavily Astro Boy.
Oh, very overtly, yeah.
And so I actually like connected a lot more, knowing that it was very Astro Boy, and there's a lot of things that they actually like teach about the Jedi, about kyber crystals, about the Force and everything like that. Which is why I'm like, if you're gonna have a kid start off with Star Wars, start with this episode.
Yeah,
it actually teaches.
Yeah, it was very, very cute. Yeah, it was very cool too.
Yeah,
it was
great
great
style,
style, great look. It was really cute message, very fun. It was a very, very good episode. Yeah, it probably would be my top couple. Yeah,
one of your top ones.
Yeah, definitely.
But speaking of which, we have the outside source who doesn't know much about Star Wars, Chris.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this episode?
I liked it. I'd say I put this in like maybe my top 3.
Okay.
It was cool to see how Dr. Wily. I'm sorry. I know he's the good guy, but I just can't.
Look, we get it. It's funnier just to call him Wally.
It's just fun to say that.
Exactly.
Name.
It really is.
Quickly, what Mega Man? We gotta jump Dr.
We gotta find another energy source immediately, Mega Man. What? That's a good question. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Not a whole lot to add, really.
Yeah,
it was like he had the power inside him all along.
Yeah, I thought that the Kyber crystal was going to be in the basement, and he wanted him to find it.
Right? Yeah. Same here, but then you find out it was inside him all along. You know,
I also found it kind of interesting how I have to imagine it kind of subtly demonstrated like the unique aspect of droids in that they literally can live forever. Because I can't imagine how much time passed between when the Doctor died to when now there's moss on these rocks and there's clouds in the sky. I have to imagine years went by and he did not age. Really he did not age a day. And so I imagine now that we know the Inquisitor was also a droid, that makes sense that he remained the same as well.
Yeah, he literally didn't change because they were still on early process of doing this experiment at the beginning of the episode, and it ended with the experiment actually succeeding. Yeah. So years have had to gone by, but the plot twist I guess in this one would be the bad guy was a droid too. But it does have an interesting turn on the droids. And honestly, Chris, when I first watched this episode, I thought of you because it had one aspect that that I know you enjoyed. One of the reasons why you liked a movie that I introduced you to, Little Nemo and His Adventures in Slumberland.
Yeah.
It was happy. It was carefree.
It was.
Yeah.
It was
very light style.
Yeah, it was very lighthearted, and every once in a while you just need one that.
It was light with dark undertones.
Yeah.
You had a bit of death, you had some conflict in there, but otherwise it was pretty light.
Yeah, it's like
some casual death.
It's fine.
And
pretty cool.
For you, because I know you're going to ask this question, so I'll ask it instead. Good one-off, or something that could be continued?
This one's kind of in the middle for me. I feel like it definitely could be a series. It could be very, it's very simple art style.
The Adventures of Toby.
Plot. Yeah, it could be very interesting. That would be the interesting thing to take off. Yeah, I would like to see more of a series from this.
Yeah. What about you?
Now, when you say series, are you envisioning that this episode would be the pilot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're right. I should have been more specific. When you watch this episode, do you see this as a pilot episode to an ongoing series? Do you see it as maybe this could have been an ending to something, or do you just see this as just a one-off and that's all it needs?
Okay. I would say this episode is more of a one-off, but in the sense of if instead of it being a pilot, it was more that whole story was expanded into a multiple series where you really took time to get to know the professor, get to know Toby, maybe even some of the other droids and their personalities, and maybe see bits of Toby. Maybe at some point Toby finds a crystal, and then you give not montages, but you have episodes seeing him train and get knocked on his butt, and that whole progression of him, and expanded that leading up to the encounter with the Inquisitor. I think that would have made for at least a pretty decent season.
Yeah.
And you going off of your idea, you could also learn more about the Inquisitor and why why he's in that sector and all that stuff. But for me personally, I'm kind of on the fence between just a one-off episode and something that would be neat to see elaborated on, an actual series going on with this. Like I said to you, I think this was my number 3 episode. No, sorry, it was actually number 4, but it was in my top 5 at least. And this one was it was a real feel good one.
Yeah, I really appreciated this episode.
Yeah.
And
now
to the next one.
Yeah, the next one, episode 7, The Elder. Thank you. Which surprisingly,
everybody.
Great job, everyone.
Excellent.
Which was actually done once again by Studio Trigger. Now, Matt,
and once again,
I told you,
single character.
I told you in the first part of this. I told Chris there's 2 sides to Trigger: Gurren Lagann and normal.
Those are the only 2 settings Trigger has. There's no in between.
Yeah, that's the only triggering things for Trigger.
Yeah, and I was gonna say.
So hey, question.
Yeah.
If something from Trigger, if something from Trigger upsets you, does that mean Trigger triggered you?
Yeah, I got triggered by Trigger. I saw their animation. I'm like, oh god, no, not again. It's happening to me again.
But now this one, for all of you, because when I said in the first part, we watched episode 3, The Twins, was done by Trigger. That was strap yourselves in. We're going Gurren Lagann style. This one is actually. Don't have to worry too much about it, because it's more normal Trigger.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually more normal, and if you were to introduce someone to Trigger on this one, and then you showed them, you're like, yeah, they'll be like, yeah, I like Studio Trigger. Then you show them all the works that they're famous for, they would be confused.
Oh yeah, this is very much, well, I'll say, once again, this is probably another one of my bottom ones, legit.
Fine, which is fine.
This was absolutely an episode where it's like, as I was watching it, I actively forgot, well, not actively, but like, I ended up forgetting that it was done by Trigger just because it's like so much less action than I'm used to.
Yeah, there's practically no action, and but as you know, typical Trigger, fucking barely any characters.
Yeah,
and I mean personality wise.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So we start off on a ship going in through hyperspace.
Yeah.
And we find, I think the Padawan is Dan.
Yep, and the Jedi Master is Tajin.
Thank you. So we see Dan is, sitting in the co-pilot side, and Tajin walks in and he's like, hey, they just have a normal conversation. Yeah. Dan is typical, typical Anakin type Padawan. Where
really?
In one regard, hear me out, where he's like, I want to see the action. I want to be all about the action.
Yeah, I guess.
And that's the only the reason. I needed something to connect.
Exactly. He had like no personality.
Yeah, I needed something to connect. And Tajin, thank you, is more of the just again have to connect to something. Obi-Wan, who's like, hey, look, chill. You need to chill out. It's not all about fighting. However, interestingly enough, for those of you Star Wars veterans, you find out that they're actually traveling to the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
Brief history on the Outer Rim, Matt?
It's, back when there was a republic and even when there's an empire, it's the more lawless area of outside planets in the galaxy.
Okay.
They're usually run by gangs or by, feudal lords or whatever, asshole pirates.
Yep. Okay. Like I said, quick summary, that's what we get.
Before we continue, a bit of a Star Wars lore question. Mm-hmm. So, Matt, you've used the phrase, Padawan braid before. Is it actually in Star Wars, official canon? Is it actually traditional for Padawans to, braid their hair in a specific way during training?
They usually have one long lock that they cut when they become a knight or a master, yeah. And for races that don't have hair, Ahsoka just had, a thing, like a metal chain hanging off her head trills.
What about the Keldor? What's his name? The guy with the bug eyes and the weird.
Plo Koon?
Plo Koon, thank you.
Yeah.
His race is actually called Keldor. That's the only thing. Yeah, but what about him? He didn't have any braid or anything.
He wasn't a Padawan, he was a knight.
Well, that's right.
That's why I said Ahsoka is the only person.
No, you're right. You're right.
A non-hair having race having any, but yeah, the Padawans usually have a braid, and typically. And just for Star Wars' sake, they've been mostly humans in most things, and they usually just have a little thing hanging down that they cut off when they become.
Does it serve any function in their
just
training?
To signify that they're?
Okay. So it's purely aesthetic, and only just is used to signal with the braid I'm in training. When I cut it off, I'm done training. I'm now a knight.
Yeah.
Okay.
In continuity, yes, there are some exceptions to that rule. We'll get to those later on. That have different meanings. But right now, yeah, we'll focus on that right there. So yeah, it would signify, hey, I'm now, or didn't it also mean masterless? Like a Padawan would do that as well.
If they lost their master.
Yeah, if they lost their master, kind of like a Ronin kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said, it's very Bushido and samurai.
Yeah, it probably is some kind of actual reference to something in old samurai lore.
I apologize for all my coughing, by the way. It'll probably pick up.
Yeah, was I do something to drink or?
No, I just have something in my throat.
Okay.
I think you said sinuses or something like that.
Yeah, it's probably just my allergies acting up.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I don't remember the planet that they're going to.
Outer Rim territories, Outer Rim, blah 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 blah. I don't think it had a fucking name. Oh,
Yeah,
Hobo.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Hobo.
Hobo.
I'm about to say that reminds me of the old Tim and Eric series. Tom Goes to the Mayor. They had Hobo Town, and they renamed it to Hoboten.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but we'll go with it. But yeah, Habbo.
Habbo for Hobo.
Randomly, as they're heading to Habbo,
they just sense
the master senses just a slight disturbance, and you can tell it was just the master because Dan is over here.
Mm-hmm.
He's got such a normal name.
He's a very boring character,
Yeah,
but I'm gonna say
Dan's just like, "Hey, you okay?" And the master's like, "Yeah, I felt a slight disturbance. It could be nothing." Kind of thing.
And so they land on the planet of Habbo, and Dan sees some kids being silly. He's like, "Oh, this planet's really beautiful." Tajin's kind of like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go look around for a little bit and try some local food, the udon."
The udon.
The udon noodles.
Yeah, exactly. They travel around the village and they see the regular people. They're kind of like, the children are kind of wary of them.
Yeah, and that's when they find out that apparently they're they don't get any visitors.
Yeah.
This planet, it's really backwater planet, but apparently according to the villagers, there was a visitor, an old man who came, and they don't know if he's left or not. And so Dan's like, wait a minute. So if this old man is traveling, maybe we could split up. I'll go to the mountains, see if I can find anything. You can look for the ship.
Yeah.
And of course, the master's like, how convenient.
Yeah, you just want to go up there because you'll probably find him, right?
Yeah, you'll find him and fight him. And he's like, actually, it just works out because I come from a place of mountains.
Yeah.
You're good with ships.
Yep.
It works that way. And he's like, okay, but watch out for, I forget what the creatures are called.
Yeah, some...
like Yagma, I think?
I'm about to say narratively they're unimportant, but
yeah. Watch out for whatever these creatures are, and also
Vamgar.
Vamga, yeah. Watch out for the Vamga. They're not usually hostile if you just leave them alone. And get a guide. And who does he get for the guide? Those 3 kids he befriended.
Yep, they kind of help him up the mountain until they find a Vamga carcass.
And as he finds that, we also cut to the master finding the ship. And of course, the master's like, "Hey Dan, you copy kind of thing." And he's like, "I found the ship. Not a model I'm familiar with, but it does look like an old Sith ship.
Yeah.
So be very careful. Be very careful." And then as that's going on, he's like, "Hey, I found a Vamga corpse. Yeah. It's been sliced clean from the neck." And of course, the master's like, "Wow, be very careful." Mm-hmm. From my understanding, only a lightsaber was able to do such a thing to these. They're kind of like bigger, thicker creatures.
They're like a big, giant, carnivorous horse-looking monster.
but they're like bigger and thicker. And apparently a lightsaber is like the only thing that can cut the neck clean.
Yeah.
And of course Dan's like, "Don't worry, I'll be on my guard." Turns around and you see a little old man.
Yeah, a very classic Japanese old man, bald head, big wide grin. It's very cliche art style.
Wait a minute. It sounds like weird voice. You're not one I sense.
Yeah, his weird yellow teeth, his weird gray skin. Yeah.
And of course it's like Dan's like, "You're the old man, aren't you?" And the old man's like, let's not talk with mouth. And of course Dan's trying to get the fact like, are you a Sith or not? And then he opens his eyes and literally my exact thing to Chris. See those Xehanort looking eyes?
Yeah.
That is literally, in canon, a surefire sign that he is Sith.
Yeah, he is. Or not Sith, dark side.
Honestly, I thought Sith had those as well. Because, Palpatine has them, and when Anakin, you're right, turned to the dark side, that's when he got those as well. But for those of you who are not adversed in either Kingdom Hearts, first off, you're much stronger than a lot of people, and are not adversed in Star Wars, by Xehanort looking eyes, literally the pupils and the sclera, is that the whites of the eyes? Yeah. The sclera, both of those are completely black. The iris is like a yellowish golden kind of color. Yeah, that's literally the only discernible eye notions is everything is black except for the iris, which is like a yellowish color.
Mm-hmm.
And the old man is like, let's not talk with mouth, let's talk with these. Holds out two like shorter blades,
like daggers almost.
Yeah, like almost dagger looking. Like we're talking not just red lightsaber, they're like crimson red. And of course Dan gets his lightsaber out, and Master's like, oh no, I should go and see Padawan.
Yeah.
And Dan fights the old man, and the old man just kicks his ass.
Of course, doing crazy moves.
Supposedly, like...
I thought he stabbed him, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he killed him.
Yeah, I thought
so too.
It looked like he did, yeah.
But then apparently it was a wound that wasn't grievous enough because he's still alive.
It was grievous enough.
You're funny.
And he specifically fought the Padawan, not because he thought that he was a challenge, but it's like, if I fight and kill you, then the Jedi Master is sure to come and find you, and then I can fight him.
And then, of course, after the stab that we thought would kill him, spoilers, Dan's not dead. More's the pity. But the Master actually goes and sees the old man in like classic anime style, just sitting on a rock.
Yeah.
With the Padawan on the ground, who is actually like eyes open, like kind of I'm hurt. And then of course he's like, "Oh, me go fight you now." He has a weird fucking voice.
Jar Jar.
Yeah, exactly.
He almost does. He almost does.
Oh, I was gonna say, the voice actor for Dan is an actor who I really like because I've seen him in a ton of stuff. Jordan Fisher. Me and you may know him as Seahawk.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Seahawk was Dan. Yeah, what's his name?
Jordan Fisher. Jordan Fisher. He's on the Flash show. I think for some characters maybe in Young Justice or something like that. But he's a huge actor.
Hey Jordan, buddy. I'm so sorry you had the voice of this character.
A very nothing, boring nobody.
Yeah, it's not even his fault.
When you voice
the direction.
One of the
direction
best characters in animation, Seahawk.
Yeah, because he's freaking Seahawk. That's a She-Ra reference that you probably don't get.
Oh, wait. Oh, Seahawk was the fucking pirate, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The very kind of pirate guy.
Oh, no.
Adventure!
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's the voice actor for the Padawan in this episode.
Oh, wow.
So, I blame it. I blame on bad direction, really.
Well, or just a Studio Trigger sucking the life out of cool stuff.
Yeah, well, either way...
Because I'm a butthurt person who hates Studio Trigger.
Now, hold on. We'll get to that later. But the Master and the old man fight each other.
Very cool.
And as the old man is, like, actually getting bested to the point where one of his dagger things, gets cut in half by the Jedi Master, he uses, I think in this one, I think the lightning was a different color, too. Not that bluish color.
Yeah, but he does use Force Lightning, yeah.
Yeah, but he uses Force Lightning, and... Of course, in typical prequel status, actually blocks it with the saber, which I can't believe Luke Skywalker didn't fucking think to do that.
He wasn't trained at all to do that.
He was
also, Yoda can do it with his hands. He was trained by Yoda, but yeah, Yoda can do it with his hands. So.
Yeah, he could stop it with his hands, but he's an actual master.
Yeah.
But anyway, that aside, so as they're at like pretty much a standstill, Dan is heroic enough to stop the old man from doing a blindside attack by throwing his lightsaber, causing the old man to, deflect it and I think destroy it. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
And then the old man gets stabbed. Oh, not just stabbed. Let's admit, you gotta admit, this was actually kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
She turns the blade off, swings, just stops at the old man's chest. There's a pause. And then he turns on the blade.
Yeah.
Okay, let's admit that was actually kind of cool.
That was very, very cool.
That was actually cool.
Very cool samurai move.
And then, of course, turns the blade off. The old man is dead. But, of course, Master's like, Dan, are you okay? And the old man, in his last dying moment, pulls out a trigger and presses the button, and his ship explodes.
Yeah.
And then he melts
He crumbles into dust.
Yeah, he crumbles the dust.
What the fuck was that?
And you find out that, Dan's like, wait, so he was the Sith. And you find out that the Sith were not in power
at this point,
for a while, and that he probably was a Sith and found a way out.
Yeah, left at some point. He's not.
Yeah, it just left. And then that's pretty much where it ends.
They leave the planet, they're like,
yeah, they leave the planet, they have more dull dialogue.
And I'm like, no thank you.
Yeah, and that was it. Honestly... this was not one of my most hated ones.
This is probably like
it was
third bottom.
see, with Trigger, if it's not over the top voice acting, it's very dull voice acting. Like all of these the characters, the only one who had character to his voice was the old man.
Yeah.
And even that, it just sounded like this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, but also that's like the whole, we'll talk about it more in the Revenge of the Sith movie garbage spoiler.
At least you will.
Yeah, but, like, the really boring, flat direction that frickin' George used in that movie, all of those movies, he told them to act more boring. Like, I told you, Jordan Fisher, Seahawk, the most charismatic, fun, silly, wacky, goofy dude. And he could not have been more boring and forgettable in this fucking thing as Dan.
That's why I say
Dan, idiot Padawan.
I just blame bad direction really in this one. It's because it's not the actor's fault. I don't even know who the other voice actors were, but they're probably great guys. It's just the direction this took. It was more chill. It was more calm.
Oh, David Harbour was the master, the sheriff from Stranger Things.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, he was Hopper?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I believe the dad from Black Widow, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, see? Good actor.
Yeah.
Just poor direction.
Like, literally,
this
is probably like right next to the Twins as my like least favorite one.
I think this might have been this is what, episode 7? Yeah, let me see here for a second. Yeah, this was actually my third worst one.
Yeah.
So it was bland.
It was
like,
incredibly bland.
It had potential, just like the Twins did.
Mm-hmm.
But it really just missed the mark in my opinion.
100%, yeah.
Hey Chris.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? And mind you, I get it. You're a Studio Trigger holic.
Yeah.
That's not true. He just likes Studio Trigger.
Yeah, I'm definitely biased toward Trigger.
Yeah. But what did you think about this episode?
I like the animation art style. I can knowing that it was done by Trigger, I can definitely see the similarities. The story was serviceable again. I wasn't particularly engaged by it, but it makes enough sense. Cool sword fights, cool way for the big bad dude to die. And
it's funny because he was actually a tiny old man.
Well,
sorry, go on.
But yeah, that's about all there is to say about it. I might actually consider this one my least favorite.
Yeah, it was the least interesting, I think, personally. But like the story was very like simple, didn't really engage you in any way.
You see, and I still say that episode 2, Tatooine Rhapsody, I still say that's my least favorite one.
That's probably least favorite for me.
But it at least did have somewhat of an engaging story compared to this one.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, even their first episode they did, The Twins. That was more engaging. But where this one was the more chill, calmer side of the spectrum, aka a probably 1 out of possible 10, the Twins was like a 55 on the ridiculous module.
But also like plot potential wise, like I said, the Twins I would have loved to see that expounded upon by anybody besides them. Jesus, these freaking ambulances driving back in fire trucks somewhere going
fire
somewhere.
Trucks or something are going by. So.
Story potential, the Twins had so much, and I would have loved to see more from it. This was so boring I couldn't have given a shit less.
Right. However, the next episode that we're getting into, episode 8, don't say it yet, was actually a very interesting one for me.
Yeah.
And by the way, episode 8 is titled Lop and Ocho.
Ocho.
Yeah, okay.
This probably, I think this might be the one I think looked the best.
Looked the best?
Yeah.
I can understand that because the style is actually is really good.
Yeah.
This one, sorry, I was just like, this one I actually liked, but not probably for the same reason, probably not for. I actually like this one. I actually kind of consider one of my good favorite ones, even though it's not like because, like I said, other than my worst two and my best two, it's kind of hard to put these other ones in the middle. Well, except for the Trigger one we just got done with.
Yeah. I was trying to check their Twitter to see what other stuff they did. They're pretty much only
Geno Studio.
Yeah, Geno pretty much only promoting this specific episode and like posters.
So this is like their first.
I don't know if it's their first, but it's definitely the biggest thing they've done. Definitely.
Okay.
So,
are they a newer studio?
I assume so. Yeah, they barely have any. They don't have any updates around anything besides just like tons and tons of posts about this, promoting posters and shirts and stuff for this episode specifically. But they do sound familiar.
Matt.
Yeah.
How does the episode start?
Well, this episode?
Yeah, how does it?
Opens with another Imperial Star Destroyer over the planet Tau. The narrator describes that the history of this, like of rich natural resources that were destroyed during the Empire's rule, yeah? Yeah, welcoming the Empire.
Yep.
They're
Imperial, yeah, this is definitely after Separatists, during the Imperial rule.
The Empire planned to capitalize on their resources and is kind of just invading the planet. We also see that they're actively ruining the nation. We also meet the protag. I believe she's like hopping on like roofs and shit like that. Young Lop. She is shown to be surviving on the planet of Tau, and she has a droid named TD4.
Yep, TD4. And the one thing about her is she's a bunny. She's literally a bunny person. In one scene before you see her hopping, you actually do see Imperials with slaves that are all her race, pretty much.
But also another not known before species. I believe it's original species.
I'm going to assume it is because I don't remember anything in Star Wars about bunny people. And don't even get me started on Final Fantasy and their bunny people. Looking at you, Yoshi P.
But yeah, we see her kind of hopping around. We see they're being used as a labor force on the planet. We see she has a collar on her while she's just trying to go get some food at the marketplace. And we meet boss Yasaburo of the Yasaburo clan.
Yep.
Yeah, we see that he's just like, oh, are you okay? And he's like trying to take pity on her. We see also meet his daughter, Ocho.
And her smile in this as a kid, it was like one of those too wide to be normal.
Very, very cute.
And she's just like,
very happy-go-lucky girl.
You're cute. Where, and the dad's like, where's your parents? You actually found a way to escape the Imperial rule kind of thing. And you find out that Lop is pretty much an orphan.
Yeah.
And Ocho's like, hey, I have an idea. You can live with us.
Join our family.
You'll be well fed. You can be well groomed and everything. And of course, Boss
Yasaburo.
Yeah, Yasaburo, thank you.
Yeah.
I hope I remember that. This is like, no, how dare you?
You can't just go picking up any strings that you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And of course, Ocho is being like, oh yeah, watch this. Like being all nice to Lop and just like, going near the water, splashing her a little bit. And the boss is just like, you know what? Now how can I say no? Now I have to say yes. So, what was the robot's name? The droid?
TD4.
Yeah, TD4 actually, gets a welding thing and cuts the
collar off.
And they're all a wonderful family.
Yeah, they go to the beach and we do a big, nice, cute photo of them.
Yep. And then 7 years pass.
Yep.
And a giant explosion happens in one of the Imperial industry areas. Which, by the way, in the opening, they did say that this planet did welcome the Imperials, but the whole industry, the industrial thing, was actually hurting the planet a lot.
Yeah, it's actually hurting the environment of the planet.
And we see, in that explosion, we see Lop with a DBZ scouter.
Yeah, just scanning stuff. Yeah, literally.
And then, of course, she's like, she's looking around, making sure everything's okay, and you hear some yelling in the background, two people arguing. And you find out that she, runs towards it. And you find out that it's the boss and his daughter Ocho literally yelling at each other.
Yeah, screaming at each other with all their, samurai-looking Yakuza henchmen.
Yakuza
trying to pull the parts.
Yeah. And, of course, the boss is like, hey, we need to stop the Imperials. We need to let them know we're not okay with this.
They're taking over everything. They're gonna take all the resources and make us all slaves.
Yeah,
and then of course Ocho on the other hand is like, no, we need the Empire.
Yeah,
we need all this.
And they're fixing,
They give us lots of resources and help us progress our R&D and shit.
Yeah, and we and they help us to live because they're not gonna try to destroy us.
Yep.
And of course, Lop gets there, and one of the Yakuza guys is like, dude, hey, can you stop these two, please? Because they're like, we gotta go before the Imperials get here. Mm-hmm. And of course, Lop mild-mannered girl that she is like, please stop fighting, you two. And the boss is like, this is for the head of the family. You stay and know your place and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly.
And they continue arguing, and you see a bunch of stormtroopers riding in, like, to see what the situation is. All the Yakuza guys literally just bail.
Yeah, sorry, boss, and then you kind of just
sorry,
run
boss,
off.
gotta go. You cowards! How dare you! And then we cut to Lop and Ocho in a car.
Yeah, just
Lop
cruising
is just
down the
just
freeway
cruising
or
down.
whatever, yeah.
And of course, Lop is like, "Look, we're a family. I hate seeing you guys fight. I know. Why don't you? I know you can try to see it from Dad's perspective."
Yeah.
And of course, Ocho's like, "Look, I love my dad. You know this, but something's got to happen. Something's got to give. We got to do something." And then we see a blockade with a bunch of stormtroopers and some weird
Imperial
admiral
officer. Imperial
with
officer.
green hair, horrible eyeliner, semi jagged teeth, and a sneer on his face.
Yeah.
So you know he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's definitely on the level.
And he's like, oh, I see. Ocho was supposed to stop her dad from doing this, but I see even she failed. Looks like we're gonna have to make things worse for the family.
Yeah, she's like,
and Lop is like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, Lop's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, Ocho, you were sent there to convince your dad to let the Imperials take over the city. What happened? Why didn't it work? And,
and of course, Ocho's like, look, I'm the next heir to the family, so I will stop him, and if not, I'll force him. Then evil admiral guy is like, hey, I have a crazy idea. Why don't you join me?
Yeah.
And Lop's like, please don't do this. You're going to break your dad's heart. This is not going to be a good idea. And I actually kind of like this scene, not going to lie. She literally, Ocho literally bites her thumb.
Yeah.
Like you actually see like
blood,
tiny little splurts of blood. She actually puts on really shitty eyeliner, like
really
the other guy,
wingtips.
only with her blood.
Really shitty wingtip eyeliner.
Yeah, really shitty wingtips with her blood. And that whole thing, like I said, let's focus on this with the Padawan thing. Then there's this thing where she literally cuts her ponytail off, gives it to Lop, and joins the bad guys.
Yeah.
Literally, pretty much virtually leaving the family. Lop is distraught.
Yeah, she
flees.
off the
She
bridge.
flees. And as she's running, she slips and she falls literally from death. Like a deathly height, and somehow lives after hitting wires, and
strings, some clotheslines, some tents. It's just a very comedic thing.
Hey, it's okay. The clotheslines broke the clotheslines and the thin tapestry broke.
And the very paper thin tapestry broke her fall.
Yep.
So she runs over to her home.
Yasaburo,
to Yasaburo, and she's like, "Hey, wait, where is everyone?" And Yasaboro's just drinking sake. He's like, they literally all just fled. Well, most of them did at least. And all you see is what you get. Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? And where's Ocho? And she gives him the top knot kind of thing, the ponytail.
Yeah,
it's like,
she left.
Yeah, she left and joined the Imperials. And I really just want everyone to be a family again.
Mm-hmm. And he takes her to the sacred
area. Come with me kind of thing.
Ceremonial room, yeah.
A big shrine ceremonial room, and he even kind of uses the Force to get this weird like tapestry kind of thing. Yeah. And of course, Lop is getting her scouter, getting ready to scan all this, and he's like, "You don't need that.
Yeah.
You can literally just see it with your own eyes." And talks about the tradition of passing down.
Also, talks about the history of the planet, talking about how when the Jedi came here and left the lightsaber for them.
Yep, and left the lightsaber for the ancestors. And now, through their bloodline, they actually, pass on this lightsaber.
Yep.
He's like, Lop, you're a really good girl. And so if I look down upon you in favor of Ocho, I apologize. Like, he humbly apologizes.
I'm sorry if I did that to you.
And he's like, usually this is for the head of the family, and so I'm passing it to you. And so and it's funny because he actually is like, okay, now do what I tell you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Doing this whole step-by-step process, and gives her
a training montage. Off screen.
No. Unfortunately, no. But he gives her, he literally gives her the lightsaber, and she accepts it, and now. She's not only officially part of the family, but she is now the next in line. She is now the heir. So he's like, all right, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get my daughter. I'm gonna get Ocho back, and we'll be a family. You just wait here, Lop. And we all know how that goes.
Yep. Yasaburo tries to fight the Imperials with his people, and they end up completely getting destroyed, including Ocho, who's fighting with a 3/4 staff vibro thing.
Yeah, like a vibro 3/4 staff thing. Not gonna lie, that's actually kind of cool.
Very cool.
And then, of course, as all that fighting is happening, Lop, sees an explosion.
Yeah.
And is like, oh no, I have to go and I have to go and help my dad. And she walks in literally when Ocho...
About to kill Yasaburo.
Actually slashes his other eye.
Yeah. She cuts his face.
Which, by the way, this man already had one bad eye.
Yeah.
Like, cause he's like,
very
Yakuza boss, one eye
boss.
scarred and everything. And he's just like, I'm sorry, I won't be able to see my daughters anymore because she took my other good eye.
Yeah, and then this is when she finally just goes out, full out, really cool. Like, I'll say, this is definitely a Trigger style, like, action, very beautiful fight.
But it wasn't done
high
by
energy.
Trigger.
Yeah, there's actual characters that I'm actually invested in. Go figure.
Yeah,
they're actually interesting 3-dimensional characters. Like,
when Ocho's getting ready to do the final blow, lightsaber comes out, and Ocho is pissed.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm the next in line.
Yeah, why would you even get into the shot? I remember the family, which is just awful to say.
Like, bitch, you're the one that left the family.
Yeah, it's a really heartbreaking.
And of course the dad's just like, hey, I gave it to her because not only did you leave, but, family is not bound by blood.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here, like, Ocho's getting angry because it's a family matter. I'm sitting here, I'm like, bitch, you were the one who brought her into the family.
Tried to kill your dad.
But you were the one who brought Lop into the family. You made her family.
Yeah, if it weren't for you, Ocho, Lop wouldn't be in the family.
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
much.
But now she's better.
Your dad even said no.
Yeah.
And you said, bitch, please.
Yeah, it's a very, very awesome, very emotional
It really
fight
is,
where you're actually invested
absolutely.
in the characters, and I'm curious where this is going to go.
And of course, as all this is happening, TD4 is
tries to
trying
convince
to
him,
help.
like, hey,
and gets
family, remember?
sliced.
And bam, cuts him in half. That was insane. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was
This is like,
cool.
this
Family picture.
Yeah.
Look, remember your...
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
and then, of course, Lop is distraught at this.
Yeah.
Not only does a few more fights, but like a few more fighting and all ensues, she also, the boss was using a sai.
Yeah.
Like a weird vibro kind of sai, because it had like a glowy thing. So she picks that up, it up, and actually does like an X slash on Ocho. And Ocho falls. Chris, my buddy.
Yeah.
After this happens, he goes, oh, well, rip her. Immediately after he says that, Ocho is standing on a ship and just like flows up. I just look at him and I go, you were saying?
Yeah.
And she still has that X on her, but they just go away.
She flies.
Well, it's only a flesh wound.
Yeah, not out of the atmosphere though. She's on top of it. Actually, you see
slowly
flying off. Yeah.
slowly flying away.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know if there was anything else after that. Actually,
She retrieves the damaged TD4 and says, "I'm gonna go." And like she sees the best of hologram of the family, and she says, "We're going to be a proper family."
right?
And she heads
Okay.
off.
Now, and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, and I will say, like, now going back and thinking about it, this might be my favorite episode. This might be the Ninth Jedi for my favorite.
Yeah,
personally.
no, that's fine.
It's
I
really,
can
really
see that
good.
because it's got a really good story. It's again, I'm on the line with this one. This is good for a one-off,
Oh yeah,
but you actually have a story setup.
Yeah, absolutely feels like it could. This is probably like up there with Ninth Jedi. I would love more from this series because it's a great story, great setup, great characters, great art style, just amazing across the board.
Now, one thing I noticed with this, one thing that I actually liked was the lightsaber itself.
It looked very cool.
Not only was it like an actual like katana lightsaber, but the blade of the lightsaber had
it was
letters on
curved.
it.
Yeah, it was actually had stuff on it, which is insane.
It was like an inscribed blade, like many Japanese blades were like.
Oh, yeah.
But it was on the blade of the lightsaber, which is just a laser.
That's so
I'm
ridiculous.
like, that's crazy, and it was ridiculous on a point where I'm like, I can get by this.
I'm cool with it, even though it doesn't make any sense. It's awesome. Like that's another thing. Just like unlike Triggers things, when something doesn't make sense, I'm fine with it in this thing because it's awesome and everything else is great and makes sense in context.
And just so you know, all you anime watchers, this is also probably going to be your favorite episodes because of the bunny girl.
Yeah, of course.
But
Bunny Girl's always great. But also, I really liked Ocho as a villain. I love that turn.
And we got
Very
to see
interesting.
We got to see the progression.
And her actual motivations.
Yes.
Wow, look at that. A fucking fully dimensional character. Fucking awesome. Like, everything about this was really great. That's definitely my favorite one.
Well, hey, Matt.
Yeah?
Pull up your pants and stop taking
Never.
shit on Trigger.
Another thing triggered by that.
Hey. Enough of your triggered by Trigger. Chris.
Yes.
Lapin Ocho, episode 8. Thoughts?
I'd say this one is my favorite episode, like for similar reasons. Like, you have fleshed out motivations. You have taking in strays, and I'm always like it always resonates with me when like stories emphasize like the whole that saying blood of the covenant is thicker than water of the womb, because that's something that resonates with me personally very strongly.
Wait. Say that again. What was that?
Blood
adage?
of the covenant is thicker than water of the womb.
Holy shit! Someone who actually says the full adage.
Oh, wow.
Because every time I hear that adage from other people, they only
blood
say
thicker
that
than water.
blood is thicker than water,
Yeah.
which literally has the opposite.
Or at least most people will take it to mean the opposite of what it actually
Yeah,
is.
because it's like blood is thicker than water, meaning family is more important. Yet the actual adage is no. No, it's actually more of the bonds than anything like that. But anyway, you were saying, sorry, I did interrupt you.
But yeah, it's interesting to see a time lapse and to see not only like kind of Lop's origin story, but also like how what happened as she grew up and like became like more of a fighter and more part of the family, and then we get to see her and her dad having like a real heart-to-heart moment. Like she gets past a family heirloom, further emphasizing that point, and like we see that Ocho basically like disowned herself from the family, but we know why.
Yeah.
Like it's not just like the Empire's cool, I'm gonna go over there. Like no, she's actually like she's doing it for her family.
Yeah.
She's just going about it the wrong way.
It kind of reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean.
We see a family struggle. One of the the head family member like gets not a fatal injury, but like a lethal injury.
Yeah.
And Lop is now basically like the head of the family and is going to be the one fighting the battles. Like that to me feels like actually a pretty decent like pilot for a series.
100%.
I would absolutely watch that. I would absolutely watch that series.
I know. I hope the studio does come back for another divisions. Like.
Yeah. I'll get to Geno Studios because I actually looked them up while you were starting off this particular episode.
Yeah.
But
the whole disagreement started because of two very like opposing but very valid viewpoints. Now, on one hand, you don't want to be controlled by the Empire. On the other hand, we have to progress our society, and we need the Empire's resources in order to do that.
Right.
And so, like that whole disagreement is what spurred this entire thing. And like it's made very clear from the beginning, and was just really well told. Like and then of course like I also was a fan of the art style, particularly with Lop. I think she was animated.
The animation style, top
100%.
notch. I agree with you.
So
Definitely
yeah, Lop and Ocho definitely my favorite episode.
But what Ocho did reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean, where in Pirates of the Caribbean they fought by running away.
Yeah, exactly.
Ocho helped the family by disowning herself from the family.
Even while she and Locke were fighting, she actually Ocho actually I believe briefly mentioned like she's doing this for her family.
Yeah.
And by the way, just a little thing on Geno Studio. They actually do have some anime. The only prominent one I'm seeing, because they have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they have 4 different series. Literally, that's all they have is 4 different series. The 2 prominent ones, both titled pretty much the same thing, is Golden Kamuy. For any of you listening, if anyone knows what that is, because I don't. Yeah. They have 3 seasons of that right now. But they also have Golden Kamuy 2 seasons of an OVA of it. But other than that, all these other ones are like, I have no idea, but no, if those anime that I just listed are anything like Lop and Ocho, I hope that this helps them pick up a little bit, because they've got a hell of a lot of potential.
Yeah, they're wonderful. This is such a good series.
Don't get me wrong. Episode 4, The Village Bride, is my absolute favorite because of the atmosphere and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But I have to admit, I think of the studios, I think Gino actually did the best out of all
I
of
think
these.
so, yeah, from my opinion. Yeah, they were wonderful.
And now we're gonna have to wrap this up because we could sing the praises of this one. But let's get to the final episode, episode 9 of Visions, simply known as
Akakiri.
Akakiri.
Yeah, Akakiri. However, what we failed to mention in episode 6, TOB1 or Toby, this Akakiri and Toby are both done by Science Saru.
Yes, yeah. Well,
I don't know who Science Saru is.
I didn't recognize their stuff either. They have a very beautiful style.
And honestly,
very old school anime, very old school.
And not gonna lie, this one, Akakiri, actually is the same. Is the same in one regard. Hear me out. As Trigger, because with Trigger you had the twins, one completely different art style.
Yeah.
Then you had the Elder. What was it called? Yeah, the Elder, episode 7, where it was completely different. You wouldn't have thought it was the same guys.
Yeah.
Same with this. TOB1 had like a more Astro Boy, more well-rounded, lighter, like animation style to it. Mm-hmm. This one, completely different.
Oh, totally. This is like
absolutely
100%
different.
opposite of Toby.
Like, honestly, I mean, just the art style alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of like with Trigger, where if they didn't say who did this episode, you never would have thought this was the same guys who did Toby.
Yeah.
But now we should probably start, shouldn't we?
Akakiri.
Yep, Akakiri. Chris, how does this one start?
It starts with some thematic bongo music.
The
soundtrack on this one is
good.
very tribal-esque.
Yeah, so like the samurai Ronin dude is like fighting off robots in a field somewhere. Then it somehow cuts to like, I guess he got owned and he's recovering on a bed and he's rescued by a princess.
Okay, hold on a second. You did skip one thing in that whole thing.
What?
Yes, he was getting. He was getting attacked by some robot like bandits or whatever.
Oh, they were. I think they were humans, or not humans.
No, they were
organic.
aliens.
They were organic. Yeah, they were robots. I was
They were aliens. Okay.
Yeah, they were aliens.
Also, they were like whoop whoop.
Yeah, they were doing whoops. The reason why he was getting his butt handed to him was because he had a vision and it kind of gave him a headache.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we're not sure what is at first. It seems like it could be a dream. Or like maybe he was having a seizure or something. We're not quite sure.
Yeah, it's like very fuzzy, like incredibly fuzzy.
Yeah,
you can't
weird
make out
headache.
anything.
Yeah, weird headache thing. Vision that he's
and when he has that, then he starts getting the crap beat out of him. He's saved by some arrows, and apparently he's saved by a princess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, you find out that what's the main character's name? Anyone?
I had it written down.
Yeah, I was gonna say someone must have had it written down.
The samurai is
Tsubaki. Yes.
Yeah. And the woman who rescues him is Misa.
Misa, okay. So, Tsubaki, the Jedi, apparently he heard that, what was the girl's name? Misa?
Yeah, Misa.
That Misa's dad, who ran this kingdom, got overthrown, and so he decided to come back and help out with this. But this samurai guy is actually very interesting because not only is he traditional traveler's hat and everything, but he looks so tired and drained all the time. And he even in his voice, like in episode 2, a very lively looking character with a very kind of weakened, kind of not a good voice. This one, the voice actually does match very well.
Oh yeah.
But of course, Misa's kind of to this whole idea. But she's like, I'm going to accept the help anyway.
Yeah, I need your help because you're the only. She knows he's a samurai, a Jedi.
Yes,
literally can't get the mixed up.
Through their dialogue at this point in the episode, the very beginning of the episode, it is very hinted at that they had a past with each other, like they know each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we cut to them traveling with two very interesting old men.
I was gonna say this entire cast of this episode specifically is all
kind
actors.
Of over the.
No, the actors are all people who I know. Yeah,
really.
The Tsubaki is voiced by Henry Golding, who, if you've seen Snake Eyes or Crazy Rich Asians, he was a lead in both of those.
Nope.
He's always a big time actor. Jamie Chung, who I know from a ton of stuff.
Jamie Chung.
Jamie Chung.
That's a Misa?
She's Misa. But then
wait. What name a few things she's from. Come on.
All right, well, I gotta vote. You'd recognize her if you saw her. She's an actress in a ton of shows and movies.
She seems familiar.
Yeah, you'd recognize. I can't think of any top of my head, but she's been in a ton of stuff.
I think she plays Mulan in either like the live action Disney movie or the Mulan character in the ABC
Once Upon
show.
a Time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
She played Mulan in Once Upon a Time.
Oh, okay.
All right. Cool.
But then beyond that though, the two goofball idiots that they're traveling with, was it Kamahachi and Senchu?
Something like that.
Yeah, voiced by Ken Young, who, if you've ever seen a portly Japanese actor in anything, you've seen him. He's a fucking huge actor. And then George Takei is the other one.
Really?
Yeah.
The thinner one is
Yeah,
George?
they're both. I don't know which one's which, but they are both huge.
I
Old
thought
voice
one of them
actors.
sounded familiar.
But they're both you'd recognize. He's the grandfather from like Jake Long. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, either
The other guy.
who, George Takei?
No, Ken or Ken
the
Young.
other one, Ken.
Keanu.
I thought you were talking about George Takei. I'm like, you don't have to sell me on him. I already know him.
I've definitely heard Ken Young's voice before, but I had no idea like what his name was.
Right.
Yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff.
But either way, this was funny, like, cause it's like, so Misa, why do we need these two guys? They look like they can't fight, and they literally say, "You're right, we can't do any of that."
How dare you make assumptions? We very much cannot fight. It's like, so you're confirming he's correct.
Yeah, but they're the only ones who know how to get in and out of the lockdowns.
One of them knows the back ways, like the back of his hand, and the other guy has connections.
Yeah.
Is what we find out, and it's funny because they're goofball, they're silly, they're even singing out loud, and Misa and Tsubaki are like, "Guys, shut up!" It's like, hey, we're singing a song to ward off evil. And I literally looked at Chris. I'm like, you know what these two guys remind me of? You can join in anytime you want. And you can join in at home, too, if you've ever watched Avatar The Last Airbender. Secret Tunnel! Secret Tunnel! Okay, yeah, but they remind me of that.
Yeah, you gotta finish the stuff.
No, yeah, we don't have to.
Secret,
there we go.
Secret Tunnel!
Wait, no. Chris ended it already.
Yeah, of course.
And die. But, there's just... There's
a couple
going
of goofballs
through...
help them through the city, but when they get scared, they kind of want more money. And
it's because one of the paths was being blocked,
yeah.
And Tsubaki was like, "Hey, we're going this way," and they're like, "No, that's the path of the gods because nobody ever comes back from that." And it's just like Tsubaki's like, "We're going this way." Oh, it was his destiny to die, I guess.
Yeah, one of them gets left behind.
Misa's like, "We'll give you more money." 300 credits.
Yeah.
No, make it 500.
Deal.
Okay, fine, deal.
Yeah, and one of them gets left behind, and the samurai decides to stay back, where the skinny one and Misa go on to the city.
And they're in this
Yeah, they're in a very.
And we get the city. It is good because we see this parade going on with weird dancing people from Final Fantasy VIII. The weird dancers in the road and everything. You see a bunch of more of those alien guys beating the crap out of people.
Yeah, just moving it up.
And then of course we see this backwater building that's completely dark.
Yep.
Where we see Misa and the skinny guy. The skinny guy. He looks old, and he looks like he hasn't had a good sleep in a long time.
Yeah, he's very haggard.
Yeah, and all of a sudden we just hear a knock. Door opens, and we see the fat guy and Tsubaki. Just yay! And of course, Misa hands them the money, and he goes, "Okay, you did your job. Here's your payment."
Yep. And the next night, next morning they go on.
Next morning they are actually
as he continues to be hit by the flashbacks, he's not really sure why.
Every once in a while, Tsubaki gets hit with that vision, and it starts getting slightly clearer, but we're still not sure exactly what it is. So we're in front of the Imperial Palace because we find out that Misa's dad got killed by, I think it was her aunts or something.
Yeah, they reveal that later that she's his sister.
I honestly thought they did. Well, either way, he got overthrown by a warlord, pretty much.
By a warlord. That's all they really said.
Okay, you're right. Well, either way. And then, so now we're in front of the castle.
As they enter, we have a flashback of, low battery on my phone now, a flashback of Misa and young Tsubaki talking to each other about her father and their plans for the future.
Yep. And in this flashback, this is never expressly said, but in the flashback, it seems like they kind of have a thing for each other.
Yeah. But we see them continuing on with the mission. But then eventually they are caught by the guards.
Yeah, by the guards. And freaking Wow, how would you describe this warlord lady?
Well, it's a very huge, angry, intense lady with, like, huge muscles, and she's really, really tall and big compared to everybody else in the thing.
Okay, so, I know this is gonna sound off the wall for a second. Monster Hunter Rise, Magna Malo, the thing he's based off of, like the weird, like, Asian-looking lion statues with the really wide eyes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the kind of eyes she has.
The lion dogs, you mean?
Yeah, the lion dog eyes, like, that are super wide.
Yeah.
That's the kind of eyes she has.
Of course, Ben, I hope you recognize this voice actress.
Sounds familiar.
Come on. Take a guess.
No, because I'm bad with names. Chris can attest to this.
It's frickin' Shadow Weaver.
Yeah, see, I knew it was someone. Yeah, it's definitely the Shadow Weaver voice actress.
Yeah.
I thought you wanted me to give an actual name.
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's why I'm like,
you're bad.
Yeah,
that's why whenever I name an actress, you're always like, who's that? I have to say, okay, they're from this.
Shadow Weaver. Okay,
Lorraine Toussaint,
Lori Toussaint?
Lorraine Toussaint.
Lorraine Toussaint, okay.
Yeah.
And, this lady, dude, she actually caught the two guys who helped them out.
Yeah, and they're beaten up. We see that though, and he's just like, "You'll give up." Did she tell him to like join her at this point?
No. She's like, yeah, you're gonna look. You can't win. It's destiny. You're not supposed to win. They kind of have a duel, and she's like, good form, but you're out of practice. Maybe you should, maybe you should let the dark side take over. And then we get a more clear vision of what looks like one of the guards getting sliced.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, he's like, this is not gonna happen. And his iris actually turns red. Like he is letting the dark side consume him. As that's happening,
the girl is taken away by the guard.
The girl is taken away by the guards, and we get a flashback to Tsubaki with some old Palpatine-looking guy, and Tsubaki's just like, hey, I gotta go back. I gotta do this. I gotta see. And the old man's like, you had that nightmare again, didn't you? Over and over again. Look, you shouldn't. And if you do go back, you're gonna get tempted by the dark side. And if that happens, I can't save you. And so you see Tsubaki like attacking, like trying to hit the big lady, and she sends out her guards one at a time, and one of them kind of looks like it's kind of having like a weird hunch.
She also like has her hand extended out while the person's going.
She's pulling a real God of War here, if you know what I mean.
And then they get sliced. And you said the big woman is like
she has her hand out. Yeah, Masago has her hand out.
And when the last guard like goes up, like kind of looking weird.
Yeah,
but
weird
whatever. But whatever. He's slicing down guards, slices that guard down, and then freaks out.
Yeah.
Takes off and you actually see the vision happen.
Yeah, from his POV, it's the vision he's been seeing the whole time.
Yep. And when he removes the mask, it was Misa.
Yeah.
Being force puppeted by the big lady.
Yeah.
And he's distraught.
Yeah, he's absolutely broken down and losing his mind, and she says, well, you don't give up hope.
Yeah, don't give up hope. You can always join me, and we can help the galaxy. We can even help your Misa together. And he's just like, do whatever, do whatever. I'll join you, my master. Goes to take the master's hand, master's hand, and kind of they actually touch, but she actually moves her hand
down to the
and
girl.
Both of them with this weird energy around his hand.
Yeah,
and they both go to the lifeless body of Misa.
Yeah,
put their hands on the wound, and she is revived.
Yeah.
Which is something that happens in Star Wars.
Force healing's been done before.
Yeah, but not Force revive.
So does this mean that's like Sith energy is just canonical in necromancy?
Well, the dark side is a path to many paths some consider to be unnatural.
Remember that time I said last night you accidentally opened a can of worms? Like you done it again.
This is not a simple question.
Oh. Yeah, I was like, no, you accidentally opened up a can of worms again.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that whole scene happens and Misa's alive again, the big lady starts walking away. And she's like, wait, Tsubaki, what did you do? And all he says is, I did what was necessary.
Yep.
Sorry. I did what I had to.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden you hear in the background, are you coming, my apprentice? And then he just puts up his hood and just walks slowly away. And, Misa is obviously distraught by this.
Oh, my God.
And that is the end of the season finale of Visions.
I was ecstatic because, like I said, watching this whole thing, I was just like, you can't give a dark side user one win every episode of the last 8 episodes, because like in KOTOR or like in the prequel trilogy, like I mentioned last episode, the dark side does win like 50% of the time. And when you look at the history of Star Wars throughout the thousands of years, but like it was just story after story of the good guys beat the Sith, the good guys beat the pirates, the good guys beat the droids, and it's just like, come on, you gotta give me the dark side one win, and then finally a really cathartic, really beautiful, really gorgeous scene of somebody falling to the dark side was so earned and so worth it. I was so happy at the end.
This episode right here. Is my third of top 3.
I would say my top 3 has been jumbling around, but this might be not 2 because it was so good.
This was literally my number 3 because not only was the way that this story progressed really well done, but we actually got to see, we always get happy endings. We finally got to see an ending that was not so happy. We finally got to see the bad guys win for a change. And all in all, that art style, man.
Yeah, and also, it's what you wanted from Rise of Skywalker.
What?
You said you wanted the bad guys to win, kinda.
No, I wanted Rey to turn to the dark side so that actual Skywalker bloodline could actually rise of Skywalker.
Palpatine wins in the end.
By the way, earlier I said that they pulled a real God of War with that whole fight scene. Do you both know what I meant?
No, I actually don't.
I switched. You meant all the weird innocent people that Kratos killed for no reason.
No, I have a feeling you meant the puppeteering thing.
Yes.
Particularly.
Oh, you mean yeah.
So like
Kratos' original thing when Ares tricked him.
Right. Yeah. So Ben, you may not be aware. I'm guessing Matt probably is.
Question: Is this like original God of War trilogy?
Yes.
Then you're right. I won't. Okay.
Okay. So in the original God of War. The story starts out talking about how Kratos makes a deal with Hades, Ares. Well, defeat my enemies and my life is yours. So then he becomes Ares' puppet, doing his bidding. He has the Blades of Chaos and whatever. He goes on various crusades as the leader of the Spartans. And at one point they find a village, they burn to the ground, and Kratos is tricked by Ares into killing his own family, who was supposedly left back in Sparta, but I guess they weren't.
Yeah, they were.
And Ares did this with the intention of saying, now that your family's out of the way, you can become completely focused and do my bidding and be the best warrior ever. But yeah, just being
tricked into killing somebody.
He was tricked into killing the people he loved. And I just thought that was interesting.
It was a very very cool setup. I loved all of that. It was so interesting. It's
also what led Kratos to basically say no, you know what, Ares, screw you, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and honestly, this episode was well paced.
Oh, incredibly.
And everything. And Chris described the soundtrack very well. Intense bongos.
Yeah.
But honestly, it had a very tribal feel to it. And not gonna lie, it actually worked.
Oh, it was I love the music in this episode, yeah.
Yeah. It worked very well, and just that twist ending. Because you watched 8 episodes of the good guys winning.
Uh-huh.
This being hey, guess what? We're not gonna have a good ending. We're gonna have a very bittersweet, somber, the bad guy actually wins kind of thing.
I would really appreciate that, and this was really it was such a good cathartic ending for this.
And the fact is, it was Science Saru. We went from Toby to this.
This is like I said, 100% opposite palette for the colors and tone and everything.
I said Studio Gino gets number 1 for studio.
Mm-hmm.
This was the reason why Science Saru gets number 2 at least. Yeah. Because they were able to show, unlike Trigger, where all they did went from wacky zany to calm and more calm.
Calm and subtle.
Yeah, subtle. There you go. Thank you. Science Saru went from, hey, we're intended for kids. Happy, cheery, fun time. No JoJo fans, I see. And then from, dude, we can actually be really serious and dark if we want to without being violent.
It was so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Holy crap. Where the duel was a really good place to start with this.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Akikare Akakiri. Sorry. Yeah, Akakiri was a wonderful way to end it.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
But now, Chris.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on this episode?
It didn't pull me as much as the others. Like, looking back on it, it is and hearing Matt's take on it in particular, about how it's like, this is it's a story about the bad guys winning for a change,
mm-hmm.
and kind of like giving, which in itself kind of gives more of a, it gives more, I think, a more it makes the whole, like, Star Wars universe more well-rounded, and gives leverage and weight behind, like, the dark side. Like the dark side conceptually just being a thing, and like never really like being permanently defeated. Like, oh, the bad guy. So yeah, the good guys win. Good guys win. Good guys win. You would think that like the dark side in that case would be more of like a niche group that does bad things or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, it's more of like an equal opposing force to the light side or the Jedi side or whatever. Yeah. And this is and like to really like drive home that point of like they are two equal but opposing sides. You know, one side can't just win all the time. The other side has to get some wins, and this is a good example of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, even for the entirety of the 9 movies, like, the dark side is in charge for, like, the entirety of most of for out of, like, 6 out of 3 of those movies. And then, like, even in Force Awakens, immediately the First Order is just like, no, we're here, we're dark side, and look how goddamn powerful we are.
Yeah, like the great. Prequel was all, hey, dark side, getting into power. You know, bringing balance to the Force because of a Skywalker, which he did. I don't care what you think. He did. He brought balance because it was too light.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like always make that argument. Like, yeah, he technically did because there was
dude. Everyone on the internet is making
of course.
There's in the middle, the Luke saga, I'll call it.
Yeah.
Another Skywalker brought balance to the Force because it was too dark.
Yeah.
And then the first Order, is that what they were called?
Yeah.
We're like, bitch, please.
Yeah.
And Kylo, I don't care what people say. I mean, he could have been portrayed a lot better.
I think he was portrayed fine.
But Kylo Ren was a very interesting character.
He was also Hux and I think freaking Snoke.
See, don't get me wrong. Snoke, if they kept him as a
I think he served his purpose perfectly.
Now hold on. In the first episode, they built him up greatly.
Yeah.
They could have done some slight thing, kind of like with Palpatine in not in Return of the Jedi, in Empire Strikes Back, where he was still kind of mysterious, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They could have continued that with the second one, and in the third one, they could have had the big reveal and still serve his purpose well.
Mm-hmm.
But since that's not what we got, since we had to go with Palpatine clone,
well, that's for when you are gonna join us for damn Star Wars again for movie coverage.
Hey, what are you talking about? We already talked about it. They can watch the episode on Rise of Skywalker,
of course.
Either way,
we do need to wind down. Yeah, I wanted to just officially get down our rankings of the episodes personally for each of us.
Starting with worst.
Okay. Well, are we gonna like alternate? Or are we gonna just list our whole list?
I would say let's start off with one and alternate. Like go one episode, like one at a time. So, your number 9, aka your worst one.
Worst one is probably the fucking twins.
You didn't like? You say it was the twins?
Yeah.
What about you, Chris? What was your like number 9 bottom of the barrel episode?
Like, yeah, I think my least favorite was probably the Elder. Like, it was. But like I said, like the story was like it was there, but it was kind of thin. I'm more like, I tend to gravitate more toward more actiony stuff. So like that's why a lot of trigger animes with like more action, epicness, and scale. Then that tends to draw me more.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't a whole lot of that here. Even though it was literally a trigger episode.
Yeah, it's literally a trigger episode. 100%.
But the plot was just kind of meh. Like, it was there, it wasn't particularly engaging or interesting. It's just like, Master and Padawan go investigate a thing. Padawan gets stabbed, still lives. Master defeats the big bad. End of episode.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, the whole plot to me just kind of laid flat. Even though it was an interesting and more subtle approach to, like, an anime that I would expect from Trigger.
Yeah, for me, I did have a list. Yeah. But it actually has shifted. I even told Chris this last night when I rewatched the whole series. It has shifted a bit.
Yeah.
Now my worst one is actually a tie kind of thing, but I'll say The Elder because it was too bland.
Yeah.
The storytelling was like, I'm okay with simplistic storytelling. Mm-hmm. This one was way far too simplistic, and the soundtrack, the characters did not help it at all. Yeah. which leads to my number 8. Yeah. My next worst one is still the twins.
I was gonna say my number 8 is The Elder.
Because
it could have been improved by being a fucking cliche Filoni-Special. like if they didn't climb the mountain to fight that guy 1-on-1. If they stayed and said the old man comes down and he fucking kicks our asses every once in a while, and don't worry, villagers, we'll train you.
But for
that
me,
would have been better.
Yeah, for me, again, like I told you in part 1 of this series, in this 2-parter. Mm-hmm. Look, I'm a big fan of crazy anime like action scenes and stuff like that. But my God, I literally it was like an egg. Like, you know how you boil it, like hard boil it? Mm-hmm. Sometimes the water gets too hot where it cracks. That slow crack was my brain during the twins.
That's too much illogic. Of any trigger thing for me.
Too much illogic, too much ridiculous. Look, I get it. If you're trying to be stupid just to be stupid, like Inferno Cop or like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Mm-hmm. If you know what that movie is.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I've seen the movie 1,000 times.
But it's stupid. Yeah. You can agree. Yeah, it's a fucking stupid movie. But they went into making that movie knowing it was fucking stupid.
Yeah.
This was Trigger. The twins was Trigger trying to be serious and actually do a good storytelling. And then it ended up ridiculous and stupid. I cannot go for.
I was going to say, I'm guessing that the next one for both of us is probably going to be the same.
Probably, but hey, Chris, what was your number 8, would you say?
My number 8, I'd say, was number 4, The Village Bride. It was, I mean, though I really enjoyed the background music, it was beautiful. Again, the plot felt kind of flat or thin to me. It's you had some interesting characters. Not a whole lot of combat or action. Again, more of an action dude myself. Mm-hmm. But it almost seemed to me it's like, oh, there are these people who live on this planet. They're very nature focused. Me and this random Jedi have come here to observe them and be part of their culture. And then the big bads show up, and the Jedi's like, oh, I'm going to kill you now because you're being a bad person. Yeah. And then they leave.
That's the Filoni-Special for you.
and honestly, even though I may not agree with you, I can understand where you're coming from on that one. I can understand that, it's not exactly the most action-oriented, and the story is very simple.
Yeah, and I'll be clear, none of these episodes do I dislike. I think they all did a good job, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
To me, it feels, though at the same time, because I'm not really invested in Star Wars as a franchise, this was more to me of they were all pretty good to me, but it's almost like a rat race of or rather from my top one to from my most favorite to my least favorite, it's a pretty close rat race.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of really close rat race, number 7. Your number 7 episode.
My number 7 episode is episode 3, The Twins. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's the none of us like that.
Now this is getting into my bias toward Trigger. I thought the over-the-top action sequence was pretty damn good. But otherwise, the plot was, I didn't really get into it. It's we are engineered, we are Petri dish twins. We're going to go conquer the galaxy. Brother, what the fuck are you doing? Give me back the crystal back. No, give it back. No. Now we fight. Yeah. And then the brother wins, and sister goes onto the galaxy. Don't worry, I'm sure I'll find her. That said, this does feel like it could lead to a promising. This could be a pilot for a promising series.
I understand. Yeah, like I said, it could have been a good setup. But also, I was going to say, one thing we didn't really mention was, she's like, so you turn to the light side, or you're joining the rebels? And she said, no, I don't give a shit about the rebels. I don't give a shit about the Empire. I don't want you to die. Which could have been really interesting as an angle for him to be like a gray Jedi or a dark side Jedi user, but typical, no offense, I know you like Trigger, typical Trigger fashion, no character is developed enough to be even mildly interesting for me, personally. But yeah,
they definitely felt like, or at least the sister felt like a very one-dimensional character.
Yeah, I think Kare was awful.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Am was very one-dimensional. Kare was maybe slightly less flat.
Well, yeah, he was the main character. He was the hero. Of course, he had to be somewhat different.
He was very flat, cliche, boring character to me. But then number 7.
Yeah, number 7. I think you and I agree.
Number 7. Tatooine Rhapsody.
Yep. You and I both. No, Chris. Okay, so for me, this is actually different because this originally, when I first watched it, was my least favorite one. But giving it a second watch with Chris, I actually shifted it because, well, everything we just talked about. The story in this one, there's actually a story.
It's very simple.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm okay with a simplistic story. Yep. This one is I'm okay with the story now.
Honestly,
the story is okay, but
it's the goofiest of all of them, even more so than Toby. It's
goofy. It's goofy. It's goofy in its own merit. It's just the English voice acting.
I didn't care about.
I didn't like the main character. I also I hated the main character so much. His voice did not match his character at all. His singing was atrocious. And this is coming from a guy who's really into music.
I get it.
And I'm not gonna lie. If they would have taken the canon characters out, that they removed Boba Fett, Jabba the Hutt, and the Twi'lek guy, and just made it like
a random hut or something,
or a hut and a bounty hunter, it probably would have been a little better.
Yeah.
But it kind of threw me off because Boba Fett was literally the size of child.
Yeah, everyone was chibi and weird.
Yeah, it was just and again. I'm with Chris. All of these episodes, I'm not going to say I despise completely, because they all did good on their own merits. For this one, the
kind of like Chris's favorite movie, The Last Airbender.
Hey! I never said. Hey! Way to open up old wounds. Besides, we're not talking about Avatar with the blue people. We're talking about Star Wars, which has blue people. No, but. The animation style was alright.
It was very cute. Yeah, a lot of very cute stuff.
It was very good. And honestly, like I said, and when we first covered the episode, if they didn't sing, if they just played music without lyrics or anything, it would have been fine. Because the music was actually, it wasn't the best. Like, the rock music wasn't really like, oh my goodness, phenomenal. It wasn't Hammerfall or anything. But it was still good enough for a kid's show.
Yeah, it was very goofy as a kid, but it was just not impressive.
And honestly, there's a lot they could fix in that episode. Like, they actually, if they got a different voice actor for some of the characters, for the main character, honestly, took out the canon characters and put, and filled them in with something else, and honestly, maybe changed up the story a little bit, maybe give everyone else a personality. I know, crazy, right? This actually could have the potential of being something good.
Chris, what was your number 7?
He already said.
Yeah, my number 7 was Twins.
You get to tell us what your number 6 is.
Wait, okay, number 6.
You and I both agreed what 7 was.
This is probably when it gets a little bit more nebulous and difficult for me.
Same.
I probably have to say, it's honestly a tie between two pretty okay ones that just didn't wow me. I'll say my number 6 is probably going to be Toby.
Okay.
It was, once again, just like the last one, it was a little too, chibi, cutesy. Even though this one did have a dark tone underneath, it was a little bit too, okay, it was a very cute little plot with a very silly little character. A lot of time wasting of him being goofy and silly around the planet. The Dr. Wily is all I could... My entire time I was watching that movie, the entire time I was watching it, all that was looping in my head was, quickly, Mega Man, you guys Dr. Wily. And I was just I couldn't think of anything besides that.
You're supposed to be Mega Man.
I could not watch the episode seriously.
You know what? I understand. Hey, I understand completely. And again, I'm gonna point this out from the last episode. When I'm what's the doctor's name? You and Chris literally at the exact same didn't miss a beat, Dr. Wily. I'm I couldn't think of anything because it just happened so click. And I'm just I don't know if you guys. Yeah. I know you guys didn't plan this, but you know what? Well, to you.
It was just the top of my head. I could not watch that episode, but it was very cutesy. It wasn't like offensive or bad. It wasn't like stupid or anything. It just was very.
It didn't defend your
it was very mediocre, but slightly less good than the next thing on my list would be. What's yours?
What about you, Chris?
My number 6. Let's see. What did I put here? Okay, my number 6 was The Duel. I quite enjoyed the art style. I enjoyed the feudal Japan inspiration for everything. The Kurosawa inspiration for the art direction. But yeah, and you have the Ronin with the Sith lightsaber, who's probably not a Sith themselves. Maybe they defected, but they collect Sith lightsaber kyber crystals. So that was kind of cool to see his character. But of course, like he being the mysterious lone wolf Ronin, we don't really know much about him until the very end of that episode. So like, and the duel itself was also fun to see, like two very experienced people, clashing swords, literally and figuratively. No. And they're both very similarly skilled. The trap at the end was also quite. At the end of the fight was quite ingenious as well.
Oh, the trap, like with the behind the waterfall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
That said, the episode did not, as a whole, grab me all that much. Even after really talking about it, it wasn't really up there for me. Like, it's definitely not my least favorite, but it's also not my. Also, it was pretty okay.
Yeah. All right. Your number 6?
Okay, so 6 and 5 particularly are going to be the most nebulous. Yeah. Because honestly, from here on, there was a lot of good ones to choose from in my opinion. Yeah. So this is like where it gets nebulous, but I still have some that I know for a fact are not as nebulous. This is where the change really gets weird for me.
Yeah,
because originally my number 6 was going to be I think it was the Ninth Jedi, but in this case, again, it's really difficult for me to do this. But for me, honestly, it would actually have to be Akakiri. Ah. Now again, we've sung the praises of this, as a story, it does well in every aspect and all that stuff. I guess the only negative things I would say about that episode were, first off, you guys probably didn't have any trouble with this, but for me personally, all of that red.
It was all of that red. On the eyes.
It was very hard on the eyes for me. Like the first time I watched it, I never do this on my television, but I had to down the brightness to be able to do it. So, the most recent, last night when Chris and I watched it, we had another light on, so I could deal with it. The other thing, a lot of the connections between Tsubaki and Misa were kind of muddied. To me, it felt like you had to know they already did, even though there were some hints.
You knew, they clearly knew each other from the past, but you didn't really understand. There was just not enough time in the episode to really get into or fully explain the depth of their connection.
Because there's a little more relationship explanation.
Yeah, more explanation. Maybe she was not happy to see him because maybe they got into a fight. Mm-hmm. Maybe he wanted to leave back to the Jedi Order. But yeah, it was a bit muddied, in my opinion, for that. But it's still an awesome episode.
It was very good.
Number 5 for me, since I was the last one for 6. Number 5 for me, surprisingly enough, would be the Ninth Jedi. And since this is going top 5, there's really not a lot of negative. Yeah. It's just the mystery on why they were all gathered here was great. The reveal on who Samuel Hayden was really.
I was kind of predict. I kind of figured he was the guy.
Yeah, yes, it was, but at the same time, it was still nice. Mm-hmm. The whole the whole switch from the one really tall animal-looking one going from Sith to kind of actually okay, kind of threw me off a little bit. It was just kind of added.
Yeah.
And. We think that Ethan's going to be the protagonist, but it's Kara.
Yeah.
either way, I think they could have given a little bit more to Ethan, although they did make him, realize he's not fully evil kind of thing.
Yeah.
All in all, the thing that this gets, for me, the best quality, the lightsabers. It's literally reflecting on the user and their strength in the Force.
That was cool.
Matt, your number 5.
5 is what was tied with Toby. This is The Duel.
The Duel?
It was a very cool episode, very cool concept, but everything that comes after it on the list was just more interesting and just better done, I think, than that one. But I did like finding out he was the dark side user was really, really cool, and the animation was very pretty. Very awesome concept, but yeah, the rest of my film were a little bit more interesting than that one was.
Okay. What about you, Chris? What was your number 5?
My number 5 was Tatooine Rhapsody. And it's largely because of the art style. The semi-chibi art style just really grabbed me. Like, I think the art style of this episode in particular is my favorite of all of them. Like, it's not my top episode, but it's definitely my top art style. It was fun to see, like, you have a little anime rock band of the main character, a robot on guitar.
Curdy was awesome. I'll say that. Curdy was dope.
Yeah, Curdy was.
Curdy the robot, Guy the Hutt, three-headed, Land the drummer, little robot on special effects, and then, Jay the MC.
Toby the drummer and Curdy the android. That's what you reminded me of, sorry. Yes. Anyway, keep going.
Right, so, it was interesting because, you don't really see... I mean, that's a concept I've never really considered in Star Wars, is that you have a story about a band, of people trying to start a band and playing. I mean, sure, you have musical pieces in canon Star Wars, like the Cantina song is the only one I can think of right now.
Biff, the Biff band, yeah.
But so I thought that was just it was interesting to shine a light on that particular type of character development in a story. It was also I think also what kind of drew me here was the introduction of Star Wars canon characters that I am aware of, like Boba Fett and Jabba the Hutt. Their song, the song to me, I enjoyed the song. I definitely think I would have enjoyed it more if I listened to it in Japanese. I think that the English voice actors did the best job they could with the direction they were given. I think that the singing wasn't too bad. I wasn't really off put by it. It definitely had its awkward tones to me. I feel something. You are okay.
Yeah.
It's very dumb lyrics, but I just chopped up the J-Rock.
The lyrics were they didn't resonate with me. But I think that the overall did a pretty good job. And then to top it, the premise of getting there was kind of cheesy, where it's they're in this giant stage because Guy was accused of the worst crime possible, deciding not to follow in the footsteps of his, I guess, parent or something.
Relative or something? If Guy was stinky, that'd be fine.
The crime of deciding not to be a mob boss.
Of course you would like stinky. Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
We're on top 4. What's your number 4?
We just got done with 5. And then at the end of that episode was also pretty great. It's okay, we agreed to do one song. Hey, Java, I dare you to take a chance on us and let us do another. And then they get away with it. By the power of...
Cheeky little monkey. No. Rick and Morty. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah, exactly.
God damn it. They literally get out of an execution situation with the power of music. And that's just...
Yeah, that's
just fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, now what's your episode 4? So that was episode 5.
My episode 4 is Toby. TOB1.
Mm-hmm.
I really it was definitely cutesy and lighthearted. I did not have the pleasure of hearing Dr. Wiley until while I was watching it, so that didn't ruin it for me. It probably would have if that came to mind as I was watching it. It probably would have ruined it for me. But now I just think it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see that the protagonist was a droid of all things, like a very very advanced AI droid too, like near identical to human.
Yeah.
And seeing a robot whose dream is to be a Jedi. I have never heard of that concept.
Well, you have androids like Grievous, or cyborgs like Grievous.
It was cool to see how
you
have the professor and you have and his tens of robot creation children. He actually refers to them as his children at one point, which I thought was adorable. And seeing Toby want to be a Jedi, trying to find the Kyber crystal, like he searches it, like supposedly he searches literally the entire planet because the professor says that there is a kyber crystal somewhere on this planet, and he says, "Okay, I'm gonna go find it." So he searches literally the entire planet. And then eventually comes to the basement. It's like, this is the one place I haven't searched yet. I know I'm not supposed to go down here, but opens door.
Yeah, that's a very, very cute episode.
Like, he got into the situation he did just because he was a kid. Like, he didn't really know what he was doing. He was messing around. He pushed the button that sent out the broadcast, and that's what brought the Inquisition, which he didn't expect.
That's gonna be your joke.
Yeah. And then of course, the power was within him all along.
It was
literally
nice.
the person was inside him, and then he used the Force. He learned the Force on the spot, has the lightsaber, and is fighting like a champ. That one felt. I mean, of course, it's like a 15-minute long episode, but that bit felt kind of cheesy and rushed to me.
That makes sense.
But that said, it was really interesting to see that come to fruition. He's literally a Jedi robot.
Yeah, it's very fucking cool.
My number
4? Or?
Yeah, my number 4. We're on number 4 right now. My number 4, surprisingly enough, is, Toby. Tob1.
Wow.
For me, like I said, I grew up with the, I think it was like the early late 90s color anime for Astro Boy. It reminded me of an episode of that. Carefree, kind of main character, trying to figure out, what he wants, dreams big, and you find out he actually is that. And I also like, just Dr. Wowie.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a really good mentor character for what was needed. I also stated, very good beginner episode of anything Star Wars for kids. Getting them to understand what it's all about, kind of thing.
Oh, I forgot to mention in my explanation. I already touched upon this earlier in the podcast, but I really liked how they implied very subtly how humans only have a finite lifespan, but droids can literally live forever. So I have to imagine that decades passed as Toby was continuing the research, and that's where you eventually see clouds in the sky and moss growing on the plants, because that shit doesn't happen quickly.
No, it doesn't. And the other thing, the villain. He is very simplistic villain. Yeah, but the Inquisitor being a droid of all things.
Yeah, very.
That was really cool. What about your number 4?
Number 4 for me will definitely be The Village Bride. It was absolutely gorgeous looking, but it was a very cliche, boring Filoni-Special. So that's why it's so high, is because it's so goddamn beautiful. The characters look great. I love the design of the village, the people, the forest, and everything, the music. It was all beautiful and gorgeous, and I loved it. And that's why I don't have any issues with it. But it was just an incredibly cliche plot that I didn't really care too much about. But I did like the girl. I did like the explorer guy. I did like the village people. I liked them all. It was very good.
What's your number 3?
Number 3.
Yep, we're now in top 3 territory.
Yeah, top 3. All right, this is probably going to be Akakiri.
Akakiri?
Yeah.
Dude, honestly, before I did my second watch through, that too was my number 3.
Yep,
It got switched though.
The plot was, not the plot. The ending alone was fucking 100 out of 100. Great for me, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The lead up, the stylization, the coloring of the red and everything, it was all very beautiful. The style was very cool. I'm not usually a fan of this kind of weird, fucking screaming man, big head, weird art style often. But I really liked it in this context. The music was fucking in my head forever. The final antagonist, Masago, was fucking great. Yeah, it was really good, and I really appreciated the ending of it. That's why it's about that high up above everything else.
What about you, Chris? What's your number 3?
My number 3 is also Akakiri. So it's kind of funny. So this was originally going to be lower on my list, but it wasn't until after we were doing this recording and we're talking about when Matt talked about his take on the episode, when I realized wow, there's actually way more depth and substance to this episode than I gave it credit for. I just did not get that during my first watch through, and now that I'm thinking about this is actually really good. So I ended up shifting my list while we were recording, and this is now my number 3.
Big spoiler, I did the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so interest. Well, I don't know if I want to say interesting characters. Well, the the dudes who got them into the town, I forget what their names are, like Senshu.
I didn't even name them when we were talking about the episode. They're very
Jasper and Horace.
Horace and Jasper, yes. The Horace and Jasper get them in. They, they're simple characters. It was interesting, like, when I first saw Tsubaki and, like, him having, like, those visions, I thought that was just, like, a really bad dream or, like a flashback that he had. Well, like PTSD seizures or something. Only to learn it's like, oh no, he can see the future, apparently.
I was going to say, yeah, that was, we didn't elaborate it because I don't know how, you're not familiar with Star Wars stuff, but this is a very common plot device in a lot of stuff where they, like, have a vision of something. And sometimes the Jedi will go out of their way to not have it happen, and it'll happen in a way they don't expect. But it's like a very, like, reoccurring thing, and I thought it was a really cool angle. I didn't even think about how cool it was when you find out why he's having that vision, because that's what motivates Anakin in Episode 3, and Ahsoka when she's supposed to be, like, bodyguarding Padme. She keeps having a vision. She's like, I gotta figure out how to stop this from happening. It's like, it was really fucking cool. That's another reason Akakiri was so damn good.
And then, like the twist of, like, how it happened. Of course, I made the parallels to God of War, which is one of my favorite game series of all time.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was interesting how they, like, how that whole thing happened, and then it's like, okay, he's Sith now. He's with the bad guys, and that's it. That's the story. Like, the bad guys actually won for once.
Yeah, so good.
Took him long enough.
Number 3, or
yeah, I'm still on number 3.
Yeah.
My number 3, surprisingly enough, is The Duel. I'm a sucker for Kurosawa stuff. When I was in high school, this was the first time I watched Yojimbo. So to find out that the Ronin was just like a passerby who just happens to have all of those Sith kyber crystals and everything, and that he uses like a Sith blade. The action was good. Yes, it was Filoni. What was it?
The Filoni-Special?
Yeah, it was definitely Filoni-Special. Then again, Kurosawa's work is.
No, literally, he gets that from Kurosawa.
Again, it was the Kurosawa special.
Yeah, originally.
But the art style reminded me of that old black and white kind of thing, and I love that the most. And the action scenes, it was short because it was a 15-minute episode, but all the action scenes happened when they were supposed to. Mm-hmm. The duel itself had a great beginning, great in the middle, great climax, great finish. And just all in all, it was just really reminiscent of a Kurosawa, and I am actually quite a sucker for Kurosawa's work. My number 2, we're getting there, kids, we're getting there. My number 2, you two are going to disagree with me on this one, because I know that this is not your number 2, is actually La Pinocho. I love the story.
Totally non-judgmental.
Look, I get enough from Matt as it is. I don't need it.
Both stroking our beards contemplatively.
Look, you're gonna get an earful on our number 1, but for La Pinocho, story pacing very well done. The just the story itself was really good, and a lot of times some people get thrown off with a time lapse. But it timed itself very well and all that stuff. Lop as a character, beautifully done. Absolutely, like, amazingly well thought out and everything. Actually, all of the characters, except for Sneery Nick, fuck you with the weird green, what do you call them, wingtips?
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't come back.
Yeah, you know why? Because nobody likes him. He was in that he was only there for Ocho, and that was it.
Yeah.
Just, honestly, the 3 main characters, the dad and the 2 sisters, all well thought out, all well good, and it was emotional. It was emotional. It was, heart wrenching at times, and it actually had some really good values. And yeah, holy crap! This is a very close second for me, by the way, like Rat Race. But oh my goodness, there's a lot of good from that. You, Matt, what's your number 2?
Number 2 is going to be my former number 1 until we started talking the Ninth Jedi. Mm-hmm. My top 2 are literally there because they were so intriguing that I would die for a full series based on either of them. This was my number 1 until we started talking about stuff. But the twist concept, the even cliche anime setup of like the girl being given a mission and having to go do that. If this little bit was like stretched out into a longer thing of like her trying to get these lightsabers to the Jedi, those guys actually being all evil, that big twist in the end, it was just so much going on, like a ton. They actually had like a little world setup in the beginning, which usually I'm not too much of a fan of in these. Like, the world is this is a state, there's no Jedi, no one has lightsabers, but like goddamn, I was so invested. All the character designs, even though they weren't aliens that were established in the series or the world before, I loved their designs. They all looked really cool. I wish those Sith didn't have to die, because I would have loved to have seen more of those characters get developed. But like, the world is it's one of those states where the Sith are so in charge, they're so prevalent, so sneaky. The Jedi are so on the run. It's just such a cool ass like concept, and I love the art style, which was like, I didn't do any more, but yeah, it reminded me of like something like Bleacher. Did they do Eureka 7? We said.
They did a movie for Eureka 7.
Yeah, it's such a good ass style, and I absolutely fucking love the Ninth Jedi, and I would love to live more in that world for Star Wars. Mm-hmm. If I ever did a Star Wars campaign, which there are tons and tons of tabletop books for them, I would fucking love to do that world. I can
give you a link to.
I have them. I know where to get them.
I don't think you have the ones I'm talking about, but you're number 2.
Okay, before I get into that, just remind me again, what is a Filoni-Special?
It's usually the Jedi are in some small, nowhere, nobody village for some reason, either resources or want their help fighting the separatists. And then the bad guy, the bandit, the whatever evil group tries to attack the village. And the Jedi either can't interfere, or they train the villagers to defend themselves, or the Jedi just take care of it themselves, defend a small village, and then go on their way to the next thing. It's not always Jedi, because the same thing happens in The Mandalorian. The same thing happens with the rebel crew in Rebels. It's the small protag group helping out a nobody village against some bandits or a Sith or whatever.
So the protag individual or group trains the village, and then the village themselves like bands together and combats the big bad.
Yeah, or most of the time the Jedi still handles it themselves indirectly.
The people that are being helped are usually like a backwater like
farmers
and something like
they
that.
have no idea how to fight.
Yeah,
exactly.
And literally the plot of like I think even Yojimbo, but also the Seven Samurai is like the
Seven Samurai is the one they actually reference the most.
Yeah, but then like a lot of those Kurosawa movies are that setup of like, I'm just a lone samurai, a huge badass, and I'm just sitting in this tiny little village. This village has a villain problem. I guess I'll have to handle. I don't know, but
I'll just help.
Yeah. It's a very like cliche, or not. Well, it's a cliche in general, but like Star Wars happens a lot, and it's called Filoni because Dave Filoni is the head of all Star Wars TV media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
So it's kind of like that one episode of Samurai Jack where he teaches the monkeys how to fight.
Yeah.
And it's just
literally
the monkeys telling him how to jump good.
Yeah, or almost any episode of Samurai Champloo.
Yeah. So is that a segue to your number 2?
Not really. I just wanted to clear it up.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Anyway, segue, yes, but not a very clean one. Speaking of segues, my number 2 is the Ninth Jedi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I would, like Matt said, I would love to have seen that. Like maybe not be a pilot, but just have that story expanded more into a series. Like I would love to see Kara's like development as a character. Like her own character development by itself was kind of interesting. It was nice to see like she went from like near colorless lightsaber to properly green and like. So what I was explained to by Ben was that in traditional Star Wars canon, the color of a lightsaber is exclusively determined by the kyber crystal that powers it. Whereas in this episode, they twisted the formula. So now, like whatever crystals in the lightsaber will actually it be in tune with the wielder, and thus the color will change depending on the wielder's strength and strength with the Force and like whether they're good or evil aligned.
So it's like a mood ring for your lightsaber.
Yeah, I think that's something to go too.
So that was, I think, a particularly interesting approach.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that. I honestly kind of wish that was the way that lightsabers worked by default, but that's just me.
I was gonna say, there's tons of episodes about it in Clone Wars when you see follow a bunch of Akuba Padawans learning how this shit works. They go to a planet, usually specifically Ilum, which is fucking Starkiller base later on, but it's a planet just has kyber crystals. They go on a spiritual journey through this area. They see visions. They hear stuff. They follow their instincts and stuff. They learn a lesson, usually very specific to them, just through the Force magic. And they just happen to find that it could either be hanging on a wall, or could be on the ground, or could be presented to them through the magic. It's just but it is tuned to you. You don't really pick I want a blue one and I want a green one. It's just through your personal journey, you figure out yourself, and then it happens to present itself to you, and you say this is your lightsaber crystal.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
that's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the reason this is my number 2 is I resonated with the main character. Well, I resonated with Kara pretty strongly.
Yeah, I wouldn't have called that other guy.
So I don't even really think they originally present Ethan as the MC, but he's really not.
No, he's not.
He just introduces the concept of like the Jedi Order potentially reforming. The twist at the end, and like seeing a universe where like the Jedis are near extinct and the Sith are like trying to actively extinguish them from all existence. A universe where like the dark side is like just about completely overpowered the light side. That's a really interesting concept to see. So while not a whole lot happened in this particular episode, I think it has a lot of potential to make for a very like interesting and in-depth series. So that's why it's my number 2. It's like I resonate with the main character, and I love the concept and the lore of this particular episode universe presents, and I would love to see it fleshed out more.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sorry, Matt, but we're on number 1 now, and I know you two.
We have the same number 1.
Have the exact same number 1. We do. So you two, your number 1. You both say it at the same time, but I want you both to kind of gush and explain yourself. And like I said, Matt, sorry, but
yeah, I know I do have to wrap this up soon. Going on several too long recordings, but.
Anyway, so both of you.
Yeah, number 1 is
Kavira's Gambit.
Lapin Ocho, number 1. So goddamn good. So beautiful looking. So great dynamic action. Great story. Great characters.
It did
great world.
It did an amazing job. Like I think of all the episodes in this season, it did the best job of like telling you, like giving you the most amount of like lore and background and just like world information in a short amount of time, and have it done like fluidly and organically the entire way.
Literally, it's I was gonna say it's literally almost the exact same plot as the twins, which is siblings torn apart on either side of the Force that like just have a split, and the one's gonna go after the other at the end. But goddamn, these two characters like fucking absolutely crush Am and Kara's idiot selves. Like Lap and Ocho are so goddamn good. They're so well written. They look and their animation is so good. Their motivations make sense personally.
The fact that Lap is a bunny girl definitely helps with it.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt. Everything about this just like it was spectacular. And like when I checked the studio's Twitter and stuff, I was like scrolling through. It was all Japanese, like long blocks. I was like, please let this like non-stop promoting of La Pinocho mean that they're getting a La Pinocho series, because that would be the best thing to possibly happen. Yeah, like goddamn.
Yeah, and like of all the episodes, I think this one would itself present as like the best framing for a pilot of a proper series.
Absolutely, it's such a good setup. Like I said, the identical setup to the twins, but fuck the twins. That fucking shit sucks. Yeah, I want this.
I still think that I still resonate more with the art style specifically of Tattooing Capacity. But other than that, like this is my absolute top number 1. Like I really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, it's so good. Just all around fucking 100 out of 100.
So, you get to ask the question to me now.
Now, Ben, what possibly, of all these 9 things, possibly be your number 1 still?
And why is it La Pinocho?
Yeah.
Wait, why would I say my number 2 again? Okay, so, very, apparently, compared to the you two, very unpopular opinion. But I will have to give it to The Village Bride. For me, the art style, simplistic though it may be, was very fitting. So, all of the characters who needed to have their time in the spotlight, they were there, and they were not at the absolute perfect timing that they needed. They did not overstay their welcome. They were not there too little. They were there as long as they absolutely needed to. As for the story, yes, absolutely. The story was simplistic compared to some of the other ones. I mean, hell, we all agree that at least Lap and Ocho was extraordinary as an episode. We can all agree to that one already. And the Studio Gino, I think it was.
Was it Gino?
Yeah, I think it was Gino. They did the best job, in my opinion, of all that's going on.
Yeah.
However, However, the story on this one, not only did you learn of a society that was, like, kind of nomadic, actually, but they also follow the Force. Mm-hmm. Only they call it something different. You get to see a different perspective of the Force and how it's used. It's not used to push something away. It's not used to, stop anything, any kind of attack or any kind of attack or wartime kind of thing. It's used for a more peaceful and more tranquil kind of way of using it. The music in the background just added to everything because the soundtrack was absolutely perfect. Kind of almost meditative at a time.
Oh, yeah, it was a very chill episode.
Yes, I will admit, it's very Kurosawa, Filoni-Special, whatever his name is.
Filoni-Special.
Yeah, it was very Filoni-Special. I get that. Mm. However, the one... the ending, I could go on for that for a long time, but the one thing that actually beats this among every single other episode is not the fact that it's about the bride and groom and their hardships for their village, but I have a bit of a soft spot for self-discovery or I wouldn't say coming of age, but self-discovery kind of stories. To me, that's what this was, because you had the Nameless Jedi, which apparently she does have a name.
F.
Yeah, F. But a Nameless Jedi who is friends with someone who lives and is a part of the society, pretty much, of this nomadic village, and he knows her and her past. Apparently, he knows about her master who used to live there.
Who is just described as, I think, an explorer.
Yeah, so I believe that is. Yeah, it's just an explorer. And she starts off, kind of offstandish and stuff. And, of course, you see visions of her past. Mm-hmm. But then you actually get to see her progression through all of this. Going from, kind of a bad past kind of thing and letting that get her to actually being the protector that she is. Mm-hmm. The Sentinel, because that's who gets the yellow, the Sentinel or any temple guard, that she actually is. Yes, there is the whole thing with the weird stiletto thing. Yes, I'm not going to deny that is kind of silly. And yes, the battle droids are by far
that's why you
goofy.
like that episode so much.
Yeah, you're funny. But no. Yeah, they're kind of silly, but ultimately, everything about this episode just hit the right notes. And because of all of that, and because of the tone and, yes, simplistic story of this and all that, I honestly, even though it's definitely a one-off, a one-and-done episode, completely, all of those are pretty much the reason why it is my favorite. It resonated a lot with me, and like I said, I like the whole self-discovery kind of thing, probably because I'm still kind of doing that myself, really.
I get it, yeah. Like I said, it was incredibly chill, and like I said, I agreed, it was absolutely gorgeous, and the music was beautiful.
Indeed.
Was really,
and I know, and like Chris said earlier, a lot of this list, and like you said also, is very nebulous because there are really a lot of good episodes.
No, I will say, I personally didn't care for either of the Trigger ones, but I will never say that they were bad.
Yeah,
they were
absolutely.
Good. They were not for me at all, but they were still very high quality stuff that I can see a lot of people absolutely loving.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, for me it was more like I didn't particularly dislike or really particularly like, at least not by any wide margin, any episode. It's more like I like the series as a whole, but if I had to rank them, this would be it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I may like The Village Bride as my number one, but my studio, the best studio, has to go to Gino and with the ones who did Lap and Ocho, because even though, earlier when we did that episode, I actually found out they don't have a lot.
Yeah,
they don't have a lot out.
I hope they get more.
Yeah, and with this episode, this one 15 to 20 minute long episode, they probably have the means of actually making something even greater, or at least getting more of their stuff out in the open.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Star Wars.
Yeah, I'd love to see Lop getting a Jedi Master, training, and then seeing Ocho's developments alongside, or in tangent. Maybe they have a couple of clashes across the course of the series, and then there's one final clash That would be fantastic.
That would be wonderful. Fingers crossed. I heard Visions is getting another season. I'm not sure.
I think it's already been decided that they're getting a second.
It'd be great if they did just do another episode to half of these would be perfect, but I doubt it. I
was gonna say, or maybe give some.
They're probably going to be original.
Yeah.
Different studios would be appreciated too, but yeah.
But either way.
Oh man, could you imagine if Kyoto Animation did one?
Which one did they do?
Oh, Kyoto. Yeah, Dragon Maid.
They did Dragon Maid, and also they did Violet Evergarden.
Yeah, Violet Evergarden.
Okay. Oh, well,
there's another example. Violet Evergarden is much different art style than Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Mm-hmm. And yet, they could have two different ones, one for each of their styles.
Yep.
Kind of like Trigger did and others. But either way, this has been going on for quite a lot longer than we thought.
Oh, absolutely. Well, with 9 episodes, that's 2 normal things for us. But I do appreciate this great idea for like I said, I've been keeping myself completely away from this until now, and I'm glad I got to watch all of these.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was actually kind of worried that it wasn't gonna get as much of the crazy stuff. Oh no! Well, I mean,
I was holding back my power level of Star Warsness.
for you, I had a feeling you would be okay with
it.
This.
Even your final form.
I'm not even close.
No, seriously, taxes are a really difficult thing to do. But for you, I knew you would be okay with this idea because it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's different ideas for Star Wars that are not necessarily canon. The wild card was actually Chris because, like we've already nailed into the coffin, he's very now elementary level of Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you actually, as a whole, you told me that you liked it, and you could actually see any kind of Star Wars as an anime. Clearly, you have your favorites, aka Lap and Ocho.
Yeah,
and a few other ones that you said that you actually liked.
Yeah, if they make a season out of Lap and Ocho, I'll fucking watch that shit.
This probably got you into like we said earlier. Visions is getting a second season. Would that interest you? Would you be interested in seeing other studios do something, or maybe we do get a continuation of some of these stories? We don't know.
I don't see myself going to watch it on my own, but I'll happily watch it with someone else.
Yeah, okay.
That's all good. That's an
endorsement. I understand that completely.
Oh, God, yeah, but absolutely wonderful. Really appreciated it. Hope you guys have a great holiday season.
Yep, Yuletide, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, any of the holiday seasons.
Kwanzaa.
Yeah, there you go. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Chris and I
Merry holiday celebration event, everyone.
Pretty much. So, to wrap this up, I'm still working on things. Again, as I said in the first part of this, 2021 has not been a good year for anyone, really. Chris, you still don't have any shameless plugs, right?
Nope.
Yeah, from the 2 hours ago that we did this.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt, fill in the blank.
What do you mean that was days ago or weeks ago or something? I don't know when I'm going to put these up. Let's see. Matthew List Podcast. Go look it up. Fucking Twitch, YouTube, Patreon, Twitter. Fucking buy my book, goddammit. The Forgotten Minotaur King.
That's how you get me.
So like a famous person, Matthew List Podcast. Look it up.
Yeah, exactly. Action Toon Bros. If you're already listening to it, keep listening to more.
How could you forget the thing you're on right now?
Yeah, movie garbage. Listen to that shit too. Other projects in the works, of course, as always.
We're at this point we're actually a conglomerate.
Oh well, yeah.
Conglomerate.
Matthew
Thank you.
Podcast is an empire, as I said in the first episode of Movie Garbage.
Soon my empire will grow. yeah, except for one problem. You only have 3 things going for you right now.
Yeah. Oh no, 4. That bookends the podcast. Anyway.
Oh, you actually do have one of those.
What? I will
bookends.
No, I said a book and a podcast.
I said 3 because technically the book was created because of the podcast.
Semantics.
Yeah,
That's
anyway,
my pluggies.
So that's all your pluggy wuggies?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So from us to you, again, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all of those holidays, even if it's Yule. From us to you, we'll tell you what we always do. Keep it sleazy. Kumara's Gambit. Woo!